Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Lexios here, Friday morning, and I'm getting in there early, 9:10, because we got a game tonight, and I like to get the spot early. That's my philosophy. On game day, I'd like the Raptors to get to the spot early before the other team. And well, to signify that, sometimes I get to the spot early on my stream, and that's why I'm 20 minutes early right now. Monique, good morning to Superfan Monique Lawrence. So happy to see you first in the comments this morning. Good morning, everyone, and happy game day. Just win. It's Lakers. Laugh out loud. No LeBron. Let's slow down, AD. Let's play the right way. No bonehead plays, please. Let's get Gary going early. Yes, Monique. I like a lot of what you're saying there. It is true. There is no LeBron James. So this is a very different team. There's no Russell Westbrook. This is a very different team, different Laker team than we've seen in the last couple years. So usually we don't see Anthony Davis because he's hurt and he doesn't play. So this will be different. It's a Anthony Davis-led Lakers team that we have to play tonight. Well, will it be? I don't know for sure. We don't know for sure because looking in the injuries, I'll tell you right now, Anthony Davis is probable tonight. It is his foot, so he may not actually play tonight. He is a really big part of their team right now, and they have been winning a bit recently, the Lakers, and they're very similar to us on the other side. Like they're in the same exact spot in the play-in, the ninth spot on the other side in the Western Conference. Their record is just slightly better than ours right now. But yeah, in some ways, it really is where the opposite ends of each other from the Eastern and Western conferences. So this will be very interesting test. This team is different. It's way, way different than the one we saw already this year that we beat. And so I'm gonna have to go over this team with you guys just real quick to tell you who they have right now. Let's see. No boneheaded plays. Yeah. There were very, very good practice interviews yesterday. First of all, Fred took accountability for his post-game interview where he went off in the practice and said, listen, I'm not totally proud of how I went about that. In fact, he feels a little embarrassed about the profanity. I have a feeling he doesn't change anything he said, but he thinks maybe he shouldn't have said it exactly the same way he did. But I'm going to tell you right now, Fred, you did it perfectly. You did it exactly right. And you're finding more and more support for you. In fact, you may have done something really interesting with the league that, already last night, we saw some different kind of behavior by the referees, little bit dialing it back and not getting involved. And specifically, that Warriors Grizzlies game last night, Draymond Green and Dillon Brooks were getting in each other's faces. And the refs kind of let a little bit of it happen and didn't get totally involved and get crazy. I don't know what kind of effect Fred's outburst after the game the other night will long-term have on the NBA, but I hope it is good. And listen, this is one of the things right now. He got fined $30,000 for his comments after the game the other night, and I think that that's a very fair price. I mean, listen, Paul George got fined for way more for way less in recent years. You could look at what happened with Cam Thomas earlier this season with the no homo comment. Well, he got fined $40,000 for that, and he didn't mean to. That was totally not intentional. And that's crazy. He got fined 40,000. Well, Fred got 30,000. So everybody's kind of saying for F-bombs, that's a really good deal. Like he got a really good price on his fine for everything that he got to say, the effectiveness and the impact of what very well earned money spent. I'm going to say right now, and a lot of people around the NBA are echoing this. In fact, Fred has become a people's champion in the league right now. And it doesn't have anything to do with teams. Everybody in the league is overwhelmingly coming out and showing support for Fred and what he said, and that they want some change to happen with this. It's an incredible thing that we're seeing right now. We saw Marcus Smart support what Fred said. It's almost like this thing where these guys can make it code now. Marcus Smart comes into a post-game conference and they ask him a question. All he has to say is Fred VanVleet. And then boom, everybody knows what he said. It's almost like Fred could be shorthand for like, fuck these refs. They fucked me over. You can just say Fred VanVleet in your post-game conference now, because that's what it means. Honestly, in some ways, that's what his name can mean in shorthand. It's like, don't get the fine. Don't say anything. Just say, hey, well, how do you feel about the game tonight, Marcus? Fred VanVleet. Oh, okay, that got across your message real quick. They're calling him Right Said Fred. I kind of like that nickname, Right Said Fred, because he said it right. And that's who he is, Right Said Fred. I kind of like that nickname, seriously. Monique's also saying 905 should be winning to see how much players support Fred. Wow. Thank you, 30,000 fine. Even Richard Hamilton spoke up about it. Marcus Smart, the Fred VanVleet movement, we love it. We love to see it. He really is a leader in this league. And it's crazy because, listen, he has a high esteem, a lot of respect around the league. He may not have respect from Ben Taylor, but he's definitely got the respect of a lot of players and coaches and media personalities and all kinds of people connected to the NBA. So when he says something like this, it actually seems like people listen and they're like, he's right. And they're like supporting him. And other fans of other teams are like, can we send him money to pay his fine? It's not even Raptor fans. It's other people that love the NBA are coming out and supporting our guy Fred. I'm so proud of him. Seriously, I didn't realize that this would be like this. In some ways, the NBA's fine, 30,000 is less because they don't want to cause an outrage. In some ways, they don't want people to get even more antagonized by the NBA and the referees. And so they have to be really careful how they step. Joe Dumars is the guy in charge of this. He's a former Detroit Piston, bad boy. And he is somebody that is very well respected around the NBA. Somebody I love personally because he was one of these guys I really looked up to when I was a kid. And, I know Joe Dumars' personality to a degree. He is a very honorable, upstanding guy. And in some ways, he probably relates to Fred. You got to understand, they're similar kind of like a player in the league. There's a lot of things about them that they're common. They're leaders. They're unspoken. They're very defensive oriented guards. They very much 3-point shooters. They're very much silent kind of guys that don't cause waves, that just kind of do their business. So in some ways, Joe Dumars identifies with Fred. And I think that kind of led to, the less fine. And also the fact that maybe Joe will listen to him as the head of the officials and be like, you know what, Fred is fucking right. And maybe there will be some reform with the NBA officials because of this. I'm telling you, Fred might have been the perfect person in this entire league to say what he said the other night to get something to have changed in the league. The Canadian team, the Toronto Raptors, does get slighted, and I'm sure it's well known within the players in the league that there is some of this happening. And when they hear Fred say this, well, they were like, well, we know Toronto gets screwed on calls all the time because we play them and we see it in the game as the opponents. So in some ways, them seeing him stand up to the refs like this is kind of like, you know what, he's fighting the fight for us too. And I think that it's amazing the support that Fred's getting right now. It's really, really, really good. And it has inertia and it has a bit of a movement. People are moving the conversation. People are talking about this in a way that the NBA doesn't necessarily like there to be a spotlight on the referees. Well, this is an opportunity to grow. This is an opportunity to change. This is an opportunity for Adam Silver and Joe Dumars to do things in good faith, to show the fans, the players, everybody involved in the NBA that you do want to make sure the integrity of the game is protected. And by doing that, you have to show accountability. You have to show how these referees will not get personal with players. You have to show how these referees are playing it fair, that there's no cloud of possibility that there's betting going on because somebody like Scott Foster is still lingering around. So there's a couple of things, hopefully, that are in the works by Adam Silver, Joe Dumars, Kane Fitzgerald, whoever else involved, that can get more credibility and integrity instilled in the referees and a confidence that the fans and the players have in them. Because that's the problem right there. Y'all need to give us confidence that you guys are on the up and up. Y'all need to give us confidence that there's integrity in the job, not just say, oh, he sullied the integrity because he said y'all are cheating. Y'all need to go ahead and prove to us that y'all aren't cheating by being as transparent and just as on the up and up as possible. It can't seem fishy. It can't seem like there's a personal vendetta between Ben Taylor and Fred VanVleet, because then we go and look at the stats and they look at it and they're like, holy shit, Fred is right. It supports what he's saying. the amount of texts that he got specifically just from Ben Taylor. And the other thing that didn't hurt Fred with how the fine amount was that before they announced the fine yesterday, him at practice had an interview and he was very apologetic. He was very kind of like, it wasn't that he was rescinding what he said. It wasn't that he was, going against what he said or regretting what he said. It's just that he was saying that he wishes he had done it in a way that wasn't, he knows he made a mistake, is what he's saying. He was owning up to his mistake himself. And in a way, what Fred did yesterday in his interview was accountability. And in some ways, Joe Dumars can look at this when he's assessing how he wants to fine him and say, well, look, he just came out this afternoon and said, I know I was wrong what I did. So he's denouncing a little bit of what he did in the way he did it. And he's showing that he has accountability for his actions. And in some ways, Fred is teaching the NBA and the referees to have accountability for their actions. So it's like that all adds into why the fine is only $30,000. I really thought he was going to get 50 or even like suspended or something. He didn't get any of that. And that's fantastic. I think if they had suspended him for a game, people may have gotten really crazy and really upset about it. So very smart, measured punishment by Joe Dumars for Fred VanVleet. And I think that it has to do with, I'm serious, that Joe Dumars is like, this guy's like me. He is just like me. He is like me now. If there's a version of Joe Dumars in the league right now, it's Fred VanVleet in some ways. So I think that that was part of it. And like I said, he said this and he has credibility. He's not just like some guy who talks out of pocket or is like, not smart. He's a very intelligent guy and he cares. He has a passion. There's a lot to like about how Fred did this. And that's what I'm saying. Even Joe Dumars may identify with him, even though he's the head of the refs. And this could actually cause some change. Adam Silver, once again, wants to use this Hawkeye to determine out of bounds plays and goaltending plays, AI, lasers, or sensors to figure out where the ball is placed at times and make the call without the referee's involvement. So there is a bit of a trend showing that there may be more ways to referee games without the referees making the decisions. So I'm very interested in it. I think it's cool. Thank you, Marcus Smart. Thank you, Rip Hamilton. Thank you to everybody who's showing support. Stephen A. Smith, all of you. This is fantastic. And Fred, you're doing a good job. You're a true leader. And like this must really make the Fred haters hate him even more because now the rest of the league loves him. And y'all are like really the minority around the NBA. Everybody like Panser and you idiots. Yeah, you're the minority. It's so stupid of you, Panser, to put out a hit piece on Fred for going off on the refs. And you see the overwhelming support and popularity of what Fred did. And now you look like just a bitter old idiot that just hates Fred because of your piece that you put out late on Wednesday night. You're an idiot, Panser. Like, listen, seriously, you go listen to what everybody else is saying in the NBA about Fred VanVleet right now. And maybe you need to readjust how you feel about him. You fucking dumbass, Robert Panser. You are so stupid. Oh, my gosh. All right, let me see. She brought up 905, Monique. So let's cover the 905 game from last night real quick. The Raptors 905 did lose to the Blue Coats last night once again. A very similar game, actually, to the first game. They lost 127 to 112. It's just too bad. This time, the guys that did the damage to us was L. King again. McClung, once again, that dunk champion is really good. 21 points, 6 of 14. He'll be good on this level, but seriously, he's not going to do anything in the NBA. He's just too small. But he is a very interesting G League player, and he's also a dunk champion. So we got to give him that due. Jaden Springer was much better in this game than the first game with 22 points, 9 of 19 shooting, 11 rebounds, a double-double, 7 assists also. And then off the bench, that key guy was very good, 6 of 9 with a double-double himself, 16 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists. It's just tough. Delaware came out and got 8 points on the Raptors 905 right away at the beginning of the game. And they were already coming from back, but they did score the next 8 points and made it 8-8 right at the beginning. But it really was a struggle. I don't know what's going on with this. Like the Blue Coats are really a super good team. I mean, Eric Curry after the game was saying that they're a really good team and they're really well coached and they have their shit together. And that may be a big factor in why they lost both the games to them. They are the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. But this is the thing. You lose to them now, 905. But if you have to see them in the postseason, you better fucking beat them then, is what I'm going to say right now. My 3 stars for the game last night for the Raptors 905. My number 1 star is Delano Banton. He came back with a bounce back game from the first game back and shot 8 of 16. He only made 1 3, but 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, a +9, and a losing effort. The only plus guy on the Raptors last night, and 19 points. He looked really, really good. He had some really nice dunks. He was attacking the rim. Just a good game by Delano to bounce back with scoring after, a first game back where he was, obviously rusty. We could tell. The second star of the game for me is Jeff Dowtin Jr., 19 points on 7 of 14 shooting. He made 3 threes, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, minus 12. But Jeffrey, once again, solid in all around and good, solid, consistent ways like he has been all year. We really like Jeff Dowtin Jr. And in some ways, I can't wait for the 905 contingency to reunite with the Raptors who are out west as when they get back. And honestly, we may need some of these guys for the Denver game next Tuesday. So Jeffrey, good job. And then the third star I have in this game, I'm going to actually pick Koloko. Even though other guys could possibly be picked, I just like picking Koloko because whenever he has a solid game on 905, I just feel like he should be rewarded because I know he doesn't want to be down there and he feels like it's a slight in a way. But you know what, Christian? It's so good for your character and your development in the future. Just keep going down there. 4 of 7 from the field. He hit his only 3-point attempt, which is always fun. 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks, 9 points for Christian Koloko. So those are my 3 stars. Delano Banton, Jeff Dowtin, and Christian Koloko. Other players of note, Sterling Brown had 20 points, but he shot 6 of 16, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal. Also 4 turnovers. So not the most solid game by Sterling. Ron Harper Jr., 3 for 8. Missed all 4 of his 3-point attempts, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, and a block, 12 points. Ho-hum game by him. Joe Weezy is continuing his shooting woes right now. 2 of 9, 1 of 6 from 3, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 5 points only for Joe Wieskamp. Yeah, not the best games from him in the last 2 games against the Bluecoats. Gabe Brown off the bench, once again, stellar as usual. 5 of 11, 4 of 9 from 3, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 16 points. Gabe Brown has been fantastic in the last couple of weeks for the Raptors 905. This dude needs to go to the NBA. I'm serious. I'm going to keep saying this, that Gabe Brown is an NBA player, and he will be playing in the NBA in the next couple of years. He's just a really cool guy, too. Like, when you hear him in an interview, he's just really down to earth, and you can tell he's just a really good dude to have on your team. Kyler Kelly, 7 minutes. He got 4 points. Ryan Hawkins, 13 minutes, only 2 points. And then Daryl Morsell, 15 minutes, 6 points. So, once again, the better quality production off the bench with Delano and Gabe adding 35 points themselves, but a really high scoring game with Delaware scoring 127 points and we only get 112. It's too bad. It is too bad. Yesterday before the game, they did a little thing with the 905 called Good Food and Better Flicks. It was the Gatorade Content Roadshow. And they had pictures. They took pictures. It was Ron Harper Jr., Sterling Brown, Gabe Brown, Daryl Morsell, and Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. And they're all taking pictures of them eating food, jerk chicken, and other good stuff. And I don't know what it was. It was like a photo shoot or something, some sort of content show. They were eating patties, just getting down on some good food. It was a weird little event, closed from the public, but they took a lot of pictures of these guys chilling. So it was the G League Content road show with Gatorade. I don't know. It's on Instagram. You can go look at the pictures of Jeffrey eating some good jerk chicken. Good stuff. Good stuff. Cool Cats here. Good morning, Raptor Freak crew. Let's grind out a win, please. All right. I want to tell y'all right now, I feel real good about our chances against the Lakers tonight. Let's look at their roster real quick. They all right. Their injury list is it's really kind of confusing right now. All right, we do know for sure LeBron James is out. He is done for the rest of the season, guys. It will be reevaluated approximately in 3 weeks. We've been seeing him on clips on a little scooter with his leg up, scooting around in the back, almost running over Lakers personnel. But yeah, he is definitely not going to be playing tonight. Another person who will not be playing tonight for sure is the newly acquired Mo Bamba. He's been diagnosed with a high left ankle sprain, and he will be reevaluated in about a month. So yeah, this is something that is good news to us because we know Mo Bamba can be a game changer in the games we played against Orlando earlier this season. So I'm not upset that Mo Bamba is not available for them tonight. Now, there's a lot of questionability about D'Angelo Russell tonight. He's actually missed like 5 or 6 games for the Lakers recently, but they're saying he's on track to come back tonight to play against us. D'Angelo has a probable designation for tonight officially. Now, listen, I'm going to say this right now. D'Angelo Russell plays tonight. That's great. We don't care if he doesn't play or does play. If he doesn't play, that's fine. That's fine. But if he does play, that's actually really good because he's not been around for a couple games. He's going to be rusty. He's a high volume shooter. That's what he does. So I'm all about D'Angelo showing up and playing tonight because he's probably going to miss a lot. And also, he's a player that we've always handled real well. He's not somebody that ever scares me. You know, in some ways he's a good player, I understand, but in some ways I don't respect him in a way that like he's scary or he's going to be a problem or anything. So you go ahead and play tonight, D'Angelo Russell. I'd love for you to show up tonight and play your first game back and shake the rust off, and maybe you look a little bad out there on the court, and we can subject you to defensive torture and that kind of stuff. That's what I want to see. Now, the other question mark, of course, tonight is Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is probable for tonight. It is his foot. And that's the thing. Like, he has been the motor running this team in LeBron's absence. And if you don't have Russell Westbrook all of a sudden because you traded him or you let go of him, you don't have LeBron because he's in a boot, and D'Angelo's just coming back from injury, and AD is kind of day to day, and his foot's kind of weird. You know what? Listen, that's what I'm saying. This Laker team is weakened. A lot of the guys that are on this team have not gelled for very long. They have not been on this team for very long because there was a lot of moves they made around the trade deadline. And so that's what I'm saying. Let me look and see who they got if they don't have these people. They got people like Dennis Schroeder is their starting point guard instead of Russell. But if Russell's there, he'll start. Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt. So we got guys that just came from the Utah Jazz that are starting for the Lakers now. Now, they have had success, and they're finding easy success early, but that doesn't mean they're playing well together as a team completely. They may be finding luck and fun in the honeymoon period of being together. And that's what I'm trying to get across. I mean, all their guys have barely been there. Like, you got Austin Reeves and Wenyen Gabriel, but a lot of them are new. Like, Rui Hachimura has not been with the Lakers for very terribly long. You know, that's what I'm saying. These are important players playing big minutes that have not been on the team for very long. And that should be Achilles' heel with them, and a very big difference between them and the Clippers. Obviously, they don't have their big time name players, and they're playing guys that just came here. We need to kick their ass. I'm telling you right now, we need to beat the shit out of the Lakers tonight. We need to make a statement and show that we're really capable and we're pissed off. And Fred's speech the other night may have been words, but we will do it with play on the court also. So, yeah, expect the lineup for the Lakers to be like Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt, Dennis Schroeder, Austin Reeves, Troy Brown Jr., Rui Hachimura, Wenyen Gabriel, Lonnie Walker IV, Scottie Pippen Jr. You know, that is not the most stellar name of stars, is what I'm going to say right now. And really is the centerpiece with AD that is key to them still winning without LeBron around. So if AD's not suiting up because he's a little scared of playing the physicality and the craziness of the Raptors defense, well, so be it. The Lakers will be rolling over and letting us win tonight, probably then, is what I'll say. Because, like, look, we're playing at a high level right now. We just played against 3 top 75 all-time players, and we played them pretty competitively. We should have beat the Nuggets, the number 1 team in the West. Well, the Lakers are a slouch compared to those other 2 teams we played this week already. So I fully expect we need to kick the shit out of them tonight. Yeah, 10:30. We need to kick the shit out of the Lakers without LeBron and possibly without Anthony Davis. Yes, we do need to beat the shit out of them. Now, our injuries are different now. Otto, of course, is out for the season, but Will Barton is considered probable to play tonight. His illness that he's had this week that made him miss the Clippers game is better. So I hope that we will be full strength with who we have on the road trip, and Will Barton will be available to play tonight. So there you go. There's your injury list report and also the lineup list for the Lakers. They're very interesting. Of course, we worry about people like Gabriel. He's a very active player, a young guy. We can worry about certain people on this team like Vanderbilt, but they're all young. They have less experience than us. They have less time together. We're a team that's been around each other more longer, other than Jakob and Will Barton. And we should be able to use these as advantages over the Lakers tonight. It's going to be a fun game tonight. I have a feeling because we're going to feel real good about things that happen for the Raptors. So, all right, let me see who else is in the comments this morning, and let's do some talking here. Cheer Khan's here. We can get this one. AD is stoppable. Have to limit D'Angelo Russell. Well, Sheer Khan, if you heard my injury report right now, there's no guarantees either one of those two guys will be playing tonight for sure. They're speculating that Russell will come back tonight. But once again, I don't care if he comes back tonight or not. First game back is always rust. We know that with our own team. When OG comes back, he can't shoot right away. So I fully expect that from Russell. And I dare him to shoot if he's coming back tonight. Go ahead and let D'Angelo Russell shoot like 25 shots tonight. Oh, you go ahead, Lakers. I love that game plan. Let him shoot. Shoot him all day. Yeah, we love that. Now, AD could be a problem, but I think that we have a special team that can actually match up real well with him and give him issues. I don't remember the last time we played against Anthony Davis. It seems like he's always hurt when we play them. And, that trend may continue tonight. He may actually look at the Raptors and be like, yeah, I don't want to fucking play this game. My foot hurts, coach. I can't play. I'm sorry. I'm not playing tonight. My foot hurts. It really hurts. Coach Ham, I can't play. Please. It's the Raptors. Don't make me play. I don't know. If he shows up, hey, we'll mess him up. If he shows up, maybe he'll be a coward. He won't even show up. We'll see. Lion Hunter saying, I'm calling it now. Raptors blow the Lakers out tonight. Oh, I love that prediction. And I think that's a very, that doesn't sound crazy to me. Seriously. We're motivated. We're pissed off. We have a little built up to take it out on people right now. So yeah, let's take it out on the Lakers in the last game of our road trip. I'm all about that. And honestly, does anybody on the Raptors want to be 1-4 on this road trip after tonight? I don't think so. They got to get it to at least 2-3 on this road trip, and then we'll feel better. And we know that even though it's 2 out of 3, we should have won that Denver game, and we could have actually won the first game against Washington also. So yeah, that's the thing. We don't want to go back 1-4. Fuck that. That is a very unsuccessful West Coast road trip, and I'm not about that. Dan's back again this morning. Good to see Dan Keeler. With all this going on around the league, when is the last time anybody heard from the commissioner? The league is rolling on donuts right now. Wow, the flat tires, and you put the spares on, and it's all, and listen, in some ways it's weird. Change is uncomfortable. It can be a little bit chaotic. And I think that we're in a period of change with the NBA in some ways. And I really, really hope some of the things I was saying earlier are really things that Joe Dumars and Adam Silver are talking about because of what's happened this week. Listen, you guys really do care about making it look like everybody's on the up and up and the integrity of the sport. Well, what y'all need to realize is that we as fans are way more educated and smart about the game at this point. It really is an effect of the internet, social media, and being able to catch clips, crop them, and just go over and over again on them and really microscope you guys with your calls. And we have crazy people that have a lot of time on their hands that can go and do all the research and figure all this stuff out. So y'all really, really do kind of need to be on the up and up as much as possible. You really, really do. Because the more you're able to do that, the more we'll be able to detect it. We can tell when you guys are fair. And it's just like Paul Jones and other people have said, the only thing we really want is consistency. We want you guys to call it the same way at both ends of the court. We want you guys to call it in a way where the guys on the court know where the line is as far as, well, they step over this line, they get a technical. Because sometimes that line moves in both directions, and that's not fair. Y'all need to have hard and fast rules. I know there's so many gray areas in basketball, but if you can limit the gray areas and make it known what everybody should just expect as far as what the rules are, then we can all follow them and we can feel like the rules are fair. That is the biggest problem the NBA has right now, is we need to feel like this league is fair and that there isn't bias, that there isn't vendettas between players and referees. This all has to go away, Adam Silver, or the league may be in trouble. There are a lot of people saying stuff like I said they would. That, like, why do I even watch if the refs are so crooked and they're so unfair? Why even watch? There's a lot of Raptor fans this week that have really been searching their soul about whether they want to continue to support the NBA or watch it because they can tell just how rigged and fucked up the whole league is. So if y'all want to keep these people and these fans and keep growing the league and getting more fans instead of losing fans, you really do need to fix this, Adam Silver. And I'll tell you, I could give you a whole itemized list of how you could do this and be very effective at doing this. One of the things is you need to fire Scott Foster. You need to get rid of him right away. The longer he is around, the more Tim Donaghy is going to continue to come up. And you can't afford that anymore. You know what? You could say, Scott, you know what? You got 15 years after this. I know you may not have had nothing to do with this, but you're implicated. And in some ways, implicated is enough for people to connect the dots. Honestly, the phone calls look so bad between you and Tim Donaghy that, you know, it is really guilt by association. But we don't know for sure if they just cut the one part off, the scapegoat, the fall guy, the patsy, and you were actually involved also, and you were protected and saved in. That's what I'm saying. Perception is everything, Adam Silver. And you need to go above and beyond to make sure that everybody feels like your team, your league has integrity. Well, you need to go even further with some new steps. And I think that, you know, there's some things you could do really easily, quickly to fix some of it. And Scott Foster losing his job this summer is the first really good step you could take. Seriously, if you need a sacrifice to help get in good faith with the refs, fire Scott Foster. You would get a lot of traction right away with that one. Trust me, you will. Let's see. Scott Space Cadet saying Fred is like a hero on Twitter over the past 48 hours. These typical haters must be in such anguish right now. I know, Space Cadet. It's fun. What a year for Fred. How much bullshit he's been taking from some people in our Raptors nation. So unfair. But now he's like a folk hero in the whole entire NBA. And they're going to sing about it. They're going to talk about him for years to come. Oh, yeah, you remember when Right Said Fred happened? When Fred got it right and he said it and everybody said, he's right. He's right. Listen to him. You go, Fred VanVleet. You're a badass. You are the captain of the Raptors, and we're proud of you. And now you're like a captain in the league, baby. A captain of leadership. That's right. Evelyn is saying, yeah, I agree, Dan Keeler. The commissioner is so silent about it. Salute, respect to Fred VanVleet. Well, in some ways, you know, they don't want to shine more of a light on it. They want to kind of make this go away as quickly as possible. So in some ways, I think that's part of the reason why the fine was low. Really expected the price to be higher. So he did get a good deal. Honestly, he really did. A lot of people are saying that. Like, what a well spent $30,000 by Fred. Brilliant. You know, that's what a lot of people are saying. So in some ways, they didn't want to make it a really bad punishment because it might even make people even more upset in defending him. So in some ways, they really got to handle this situation really lightly. And that's why I think 30,000 being a little low and they want it to go away. But in some ways, I don't know if it will. And Fred wants it to go away too, to a degree. You can tell. Like in his interview yesterday, he's like, I don't want to make this bigger than it is. I just want to, you know, move on and get back to things. And, you know, the reporters are asking Nick and Fred, do you think that there'll be backlash from the referees for what you did and what you said the other night? And he's like, I don't know. And Nick's saying, I don't like to try and even get into that line of thinking. Because he's like, listen, the way Nick looks at it, and this is brilliant, because it's honestly exactly what I've been saying on here. It's like, look, they can't control the refs. The refs can be biased and do all this crazy shit. The only thing they can control is what they can control. And that's getting the next rebound. That's hustling. That's making the shots. That's doing everything possible they have to do to ensure that they get the W. And it's exactly the philosophy we've been promoting on this channel about the whole unfair situation with the referees and different things. Is, well, we just have to be that much better and overcome it. And Fred said in his interview, say, we have to play absolutely perfect to overcome everything, the other team, the referees, and everything. So be it. We have to play absolutely perfect. So they understand what they're up against on the team and that they need to be so good. Because in some ways it isn't fair, but they're that kind of badasses. They're like, okay, this isn't fair. We'll take on this challenge, motherfucker. I'll beat you with one arm tied behind my back still. That's the mentality they got right now. Yeah, you gonna make me tie my arm behind my back? I'm still gonna beat your ass with one fist. Yeah. That's so badass. I mean, Nick was awesome. Some people were critical of Nick yesterday because he wasn't defending Fred in there, but you guys don't understand. He could step in it too and catch a fine real quick. So all Nick said was he was speaking from the heart. And that's all he said. He said, you're speaking from the heart. And then he really didn't elaborate much more than that because they, in some ways, those reporters maybe trying to catch more fines for these guys. I don't know. Really, really classy, smart, intelligent team we root for with great leaders like Nick Nurse and Fred VanVleet being very smart about their words. And everything that Fred did this week was calculated. And boy, did he calculate right because he's making a difference. He really is. He's making a difference. Race Mode's saying 30,000 fine for Fred was the best money ever spent for a fine. Yes, Edmund, isn't it, man? Oh, man. And everybody wants his Venmo and his Cash App, and they want to send him money. I'm serious. There's all these other fans. Like, I see it, and I'm like, that's a Knicks fan. That's a Suns fan. All these people want to send Fred money to help him pay the fine. I'm like, holy shit, that's crazy. Let's see. Okay, so Race Mode saying, any advice for food while I'm in Fort Lauderdale, Miami? This is the only way I'm keeping tabs on the Raps. Let's go. All right, Evan. Well, I appreciate you keeping up with us on the stream while you're traveling around the States. I saw on your Instagram, you've been in a lot of airports recently. So you're down in Fort Lauderdale, Miami. I'm going to have to tell you, that's not my neck of the woods. I know I'm from Florida, but it really is North Florida that I know really well. Like if you were in Tallahassee or Jacksonville or St. Augustine or maybe even Ocala or Pensacola, I could tell you. But South Florida, I'm not. I only went to Miami maybe 3 times in my entire life. And it was really like just to go to a concert or something. So I would tell you this. I mean, you probably can't go wrong with any of the Cuban food down there, Edmund. Oh my gosh. I love a good Cuban sandwich with that pickle and mustard and that good meat in there. You can't go wrong with the Cubano. So I don't know. It's really whatever you feel like, because I can't really tell you because I honestly, I don't know any specific good spots down there. Because like I said, I really am North Florida. I'm not a South Florida guy. But I enjoy the weather and being in Miami. Holy cow, that's awesome. Wayne's here again. Let's see, Wayne Strainer. I'm off Canadian basketball corporate programming. Raptors today totally ran away from Fred's comments. That's coming from upstairs. I don't want to blame Sherman and the host. Totally gutless. Yeah, shame. Oh man, I hear you, Wayne. In some ways, I'm like more impressed with ESPN and how they are talking about Fred's issues this week than our own people up here. And you know what? It could be it's a localized thing. It could be that, like, in some ways, maybe the Raptors organization's like, all right, Fred said this, but we need to do damage control. And everybody else that's involved with our organization, don't say anything further because we don't want to draw more of the ire from Adam Silver in the NBA head office. So it could very well be that there was a mandate or something by, like, maybe even Masai Ujiri said, listen, we cannot have more problems because Fred spoke out. It is right that Fred spoke out, but we cannot have any more of this balloon into more. So nobody else say anything else. It could be something as simple as that. And it may be that they're like, okay, let's not let Jack or Shell, any of those guys, Sherman or Paul, further it by saying something more on top of it. Because listen, these guys are very like PC and very like woke and social justice warriors, Paul Jones and Sherman Hamilton. And I'm sure they totally agree with Fred and they would totally do that. But in some ways, maybe they're doing damage control for our organization. I don't know. I'm trying to speak in their defense, but I totally understand. If you want to boycott Raptors tonight and Raptors today because you feel like they are pawns or they're like, you didn't agree with how they handled this, that's totally right. But I'm trying to, maybe there's a reason why they had to be like that, because maybe there's a mandate by the Toronto Raptors organization to kind of like put this fire out and not add more to the flames. So that may be what it is. But yeah, I did lose respect for them this week too, Wayne. And I totally understand if you don't want to watch their content anymore because of that. I mean, Maybe it'll come around and maybe it'll be better, but who knows? Nako's saying AD is our only threat. So Gerald is seeing he's doing a little handicapping of the game too, and that Davis may be the only problem. I mean, he is putting up monster numbers recently. Some of the stuff that he's been doing is crazy. Like let's see, the last game he scored 30 points, the game before 39, 38 before that. So he's getting at least 30 in the last 3 games recently. I mean, he had 30 and 22 against Memphis on Tuesday in a win. And that's the other thing. They're actually winning games right now. They've won 7 out of their last 10 games. So it's not a struggling Laker team totally. They're winning. And it may be because of the new blood, the new players coming in, and you got rid of Russell. And so now, they're rejuvenized. Maybe they just started winning because Russell's gone. I don't know. That may be a big part of it. But yeah, I think Davis is the biggest problem or threat if he plays. And there's no guarantee who will play. We'll have to be monitoring this afternoon and see what they say about whether Anthony Davis is going to suit up and face the Raptors or not. He may be yellow. We'll have to see. He may be yellow, maybe a little cowardly. Monique is saying, I definitely continue to love Gabe Brown. Shot 4 of 5 threes last night, but what he does. Yeah. He's not just a 3-point shooter, Monique. Because of his size and height, he's a really versatile defender. And I really love his hops. Like, he's very good at attacking the rim. There's a lot of stuff about him that tells me it's like, this dude could play in the NBA. He's got the right body. He's got the right attitude. He's a really good young man as far as like he's positive and smiling. And like, I hear him in interviews, I'm like, this dude's a good dude. So I really do think I'm just saying from what I see in players, I'm going to say I'm anointing him. This guy's going to be in the NBA one day. Gabe Brown, watch. Curtis is saying we need to eventually bring up Gabe Brown to the team. Yeah, I'd like us to do it ourselves. Then somebody come and take him from us and rob him and take Gabe Brown, and all of a sudden he's on the Houston Rockets for like the rest of the year because he's signed on a contract. It may be the kind of thing where this year he doesn't do anything with anybody else, but then he has an up jump in his game this summer and development. Like, it could be that he has a really strong summer league or something like that this summer, and we re-invite him to training camp this summer, and he kills it. And we absolutely have a roster spot for him, and we add him into our main roster this summer. That is the best route and most likely route to get him on the Raptors, is that way. And he was in the training camp last year, and he was one of the final cuts before we made the main final team. So he was this close. He was like Reggie Perry the year before, this close, and was one of the last cuts. So maybe he isn't one of the cuts this year. We'll have to see. Greg's here. Good to see Gubstown Clink. I love that Sid Seixeiro said Fred's interview would go nowhere, and meanwhile, it's all over the mainstream news reports and greater Canadian news right now. Dude knows nothing about basketball. I know. It's almost like these people really do have conspiracy out against Fred or something like that. Yeah, Sid, you're an idiot. Maybe you should just quit sports and just go do breakfast television, bro. Just go be a lifestyle dude. And he's like, hey, guys, welcome. Hey, we got the coffee. It's 8 o'clock and the weather's good. Yeah, you're going to work. Traffic's good on the DVP. And then just don't fucking even talk about the Raptors or sports anymore, Sid. Just make that transition in broadcasting. Go be a breakfast television personality full time, because maybe you should leave the sports. The people are actually watching the sports now or know what they're talking about, because I love that too, Greg. That's hilarious. Yeah, I'd love to see him like, the traffic on DVP is to the hilt. How are you going to get to work? Oh. All right, Shane's here. Good to see Shane Waters, West Coast Raptor Freaks, holding it down out of BC, baby. Let's go. Dan, the commissioner, is too busy learning about all the Disney princesses for his new job. I'm wondering about that. Maybe that's true, Shane. Maybe he has to brush up on the Disney catalog and figure out what's in the vault so that he can be ready to run that empire. That may be very well true. Like, what's going to happen? That means usually the deputy commissioner becomes the commissioner. And I believe the deputy commissioner is this guy from Brooklyn. He's a good dude. I forget what his name is, but he does like the second round of the draft. It's like Adam Silver does the first round, and then he leaves, and then the deputy commissioner comes out and calls the names for the second round. So that would be probably the next person in line to become the NBA commissioner if Adam Silver bolts and takes the Disney CEO job. We'll have to see. Maybe he's not interested in running Disney. He really very much likes the NBA job. So, but we'll have to see. That's what they're saying. Disney wants him. They're trying to steal him. So maybe he is learning all his little Disney princesses and stuff. Who knows? And Dan thinks you might be right. Wayne's saying corporate sports channels show hockey teams fighting and punching out each other's teeth, but a few choice words and its content too hot for these wussies. I want disciplined aggression and execution. Man, Wayne, I love Wayne's. He's a wordsmith. Like I've noticed, and yesterday, some of the words that Wayne was using in his comments were so eloquent, and I was like, I love this shit. He's like disciplined aggression and execution. It sounds very like brutal, and I love it. Like I'm a big heavy metal fan, and it seems like these could be some lyrics to like a song by Pantera or something. Disciplined aggression and execution. Yeah, I love it. That is true. There is a weird kind of thing where the violence in hockey is perfectly acceptable. Maybe it's because they have pads, maybe because they're a predominantly white league. I don't know. There could be a couple of reasons why. The NBA's had very ugly, violent situations on the court. We think of like way back, Rudy Tomjanovich and Kermit Washington. When he punched him in the face, he broke his nose. He almost killed him in the middle of the NBA game, the middle of the NBA court, and there was blood all the court, and it was disgusting. And they changed a lot of shit after that because it was such a violent, brutal act that everybody's like, yeah, we can't have this anymore. So, and then things were pretty good. There was some fighting in the 90s with the Heat and the Knicks and different teams. You can even go into the 80s with the Pistons and the Celtics, and people just like, psh, psh, psh. But then it really was the final turning point was the Malice in the Palace because it broke the barrier between the fans and the players. And all of a sudden you have players punching fans. And that was really, really bad. So in some ways, the NBA is super, super sensitive to any kind of violence. And they should be, because that was such a bad thing for business. The Malice in the Palace between the Pacers and the Pistons. Really, really bad. So, listen, I'm not really for fighting in the NBA. I don't mind the shoving. I don't mind a little bit of this and this. But any of like fisticuffs or that kind of stuff, it really doesn't have a place with the NBA. But as far as disciplined aggression and execution, that's what I'd love to see from the Raptors offense tonight as we dissect and destroy the LA Lakers in the Crypto Crypt arena tonight. Yeah. Some disciplined aggression, OG Anunoby, where you can hit a little bit, back them down, and bully ball and dunk it on their ass. That's what I'm saying. That's the kind of stuff I want to see. That execution of Scotty Barnes putting a little shoulder in and then coming in with a little hook and baby hooking it into the basket from about 4 or 5 feet. That's the kind of execution I want to see too. Yeah. Click saying D'Angelo Russell about to light us up per usual. Click, you're crazy. That man hasn't played in 5 or 6 games for the Lakers. He's cold and rusty and coming back from injury. You think he's just going to come back and kill it? That man is undersized for his position, and we got guys that can guard him real well. I don't remember any time D'Angelo Russell has killed the Raptors. I mean, really, seriously, this dude is easy to tie up. He's a high volume shooter that misses a lot. And if he's coming back for his first game back, he's going to miss even more tonight. So I highly predict he's going to be a huge dud, and I'll dare him to shoot. Dare him to shoot because he's going to miss. I know he's going to miss, Click. You're crazy. You think he's going to light us up. I love you, Click. One of the originals. Trevor's saying, good morning. We're going to get this one tonight. People keep on talking about draft picks. Draft picks or imagination players. There's no one coming. That's right. Who you want to save you? Listen, it's in your own life. You're going to sit in your house and be like, man, my bills are due. Who's coming to save you? Who's coming to save you? You got to save yourself. That's what I'm saying. The Raptors got to save themselves. We're not Tina Turner. We don't need another hero. We are fine. We got heroes that just need to grow up and sprout up and be more heroes on the court, like Scotty Barnes. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, look, the draft is not the way to solve all your problems. It's not like a magical player that's just going to solve everything. Maybe there were in the past, but it's not that case anymore. The NBA has evolved because of mining that gold from the draft picks and the younger players too much. In fact, they say it's like, look, if you go and call all the oyster beds before they mature, you're going to ruin the oyster beds for generations in the future because you went and got them too early and they're undersized. And it's a problem. So that's what I'm saying. In some ways, the NBA has dug into the talent pool of the players from college and high school too deep. with the youth. And in some ways, you're not going to get guys like LeBron coming up. Some people say, oh, Victor's like LeBron. I don't believe that. I really don't believe that. So it's like nobody coming to save us through the draft. We got to save ourselves and who we got right now. And I love that statement by Trevor because it's true. Country Kong saying, good morning, Raptor freaks. Happy Friday every day. I'm so excited for the game tonight. Let's go get a big win. All the excitement over the last few games has me raring to go. Let's go Raptors. I think that everybody's a little bit more primed up for this game tonight with the losing of these last two games bullshit, the referee bullshit. All right. Let's do the most important part of the preview today. Let's do the ref report right now because obviously we care about who the refs are for the games these days. And I'm going to tell you right now, we've gotten the list. Let's think about this, guys. We've gotten Scott Foster. We've had Ed Malloy. We've had Tony Brothers. We've had Ben Taylor. We've had, all these big names and old refs. Well, which one is missing from the set that we ain't got yet? Yeah, who do you think? Who's the other problem ref that we have not gotten yet? We're going to get him tonight. That's right, Mr. Sacramento, Marc Davis. Marc Davis is the crew chief for tonight's game in L.A. He is from Chicago, Illinois. He is in his 26th season as an NBA ref. His favorite TV show is The Wire. He likes that movie with Denzel Washington and Morgan Freeman where they're fighting in the Civil War. You know that movie, Glory. His favorite musician is a very good taste in jazz, John Coltrane. His favorite book is Lonesome Dove. His favorite app is Cisco AnyConnect. That's so he can get on the net wherever he is. He'd most like to visit Venice, Italy, and he'd like to fly a helicopter along the Chicago River. His favorite meal is pancakes. Yes, we can get that pancake buffet for Marc Davis, Tom Duke. That'd be great. Make sure we got that 100% Canadian maple syrup for him when he comes to get that. Now, Marc Davis, we know he has a history with us. But this is the thing. He's kind of already been through the ringer with our fan nation, like Ben Taylor's going through the ringer right now, and Scott Foster. We know that Marc Davis fucked us over in Sacramento 5 or 6 years ago. Single-handedly took a game from us, just like Scott Foster did on Monday. So, and he's been called out. So he's been through this with us. Now, in some ways, Marc Davis can be a very punitive referee as far as he may come in there and take some punishment out on us tonight. I'm not going to lie. He's that kind of guy. But I don't know. It's hard to say. It may be that they're really going to respect what Fred said and not take it to heart and try and punish him further than the fine. But I don't know. We're going to have to watch Marc. But in some ways, he's sensitive to fucking over the Raptors, and he won't do it because he doesn't want to be marked with being a biased ref against us. So in some ways, he's a good ref to have around because I have noticed his behavior in recent years since he screwed us in Sacramento, as he is more favoring us to overcompensate the belief that he has something against us. So that's what I'm saying. It could work two ways. Ben Taylor could actually start favoring us even more because of what happened, because he doesn't want the perception to seem like he is biased against us. So that's what I'm saying. Now, Marc Davis's numbers for us tonight are basically we win 52% of the time when he's a ref. We did win the last game he reffed this season. The Lakers win 53%. So it's a 53 to 52 favor of the Lakers over us. So Marc Davis historically does favor the Lakers, 53% to 52%, but it is quite close. And Marc Davis is the worst ref for us out of the three for us tonight. Our second ref is Brian Forte. He is from Fairfax, Virginia. He now lives in Smyrna, Georgia. He's in his 17th season as a ref. His favorite TV show is that one with Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul, where they're making meth in the desert in an RV. That's right, Breaking Bad. His favorite movie is the one with Michael, played by Al Pacino, and then the old guy, he's played by Marlon Brando, and then James Caan is Sonny, The Godfather Part 2. Yeah, you know that movie. His favorite book is The Count of Monte Cristo. His favorite app is Netflix. He'd most like to visit Spain, and his favorite meal is sushi. So we need the pancake bar, and we need some sushi for Brian Forte, who is the son of former NBA referee Joe Forte. And Brian Forte has a bachelor's degree in computing and business from Furman University. He previously worked as a computer programmer. So it's always kind of fun to know what the refs' other occupations and interests are. You know, some of them are cops, some of them are teachers, And well, this guy's a computer nerd. He knows his computers. Brian Forte. His record with us is the best of everybody today. He's the friendliest ref to us. We won our last game with him, and we win 59% of the time when he's refereeing. And meanwhile, the Lakers win 54% of the time. So the split is 59-54 for the Raptors with Brian Forte, the second ref. Not a bad ref for us to have. The third ref tonight is a very young ref. It is Ray Acosta, his sixth season out of Elizabeth, New Jersey. He now lives in Lake Worth, Florida. His favorite TV show is that one with whatchamacallit, James Gandolfini. He's the main character, and he woke up this morning. He got himself a gun. Yeah, The Sopranos. He also likes Scarface. So Ray Acosta's into gangster mafia stuff, just like his cohort, his coworkers. They're gangsters and mafia guys. He watches it on TV, and then he works with the guys too. Scarface is his favorite movie, that Al Pacino movie where he's going to bury them like cockroaches. His favorite musician is Michael Jackson. He does like the Michael Jackson. I don't feel like singing any Michael right now. His favorite book is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. His favorite app is Netflix. He'd most like to visit Fiji. His bucket list is to be in a shark tank surrounded by great white sharks in Australia. And his hidden talent is dancing. Now, Ray Acosta wants anything Italian. So we can set up 3 buffets. We can have a pancake buffet with lots of syrup, 100% Canadian maple syrup. We get a sushi buffet, and then we can get like Italian pasta food buffet. So we're doing buffet style for all 3 refs because we really do want to get some goodwill and good stuff with the referees since, in some ways we got to do some damage control because they may be after us because of Fred's statements. So we'll have to see if we can give them a whole buffet treatment tonight. Each of the 3 reps with the style of food they want. That'd be fantastic. So there's your ref report. Overall, not too bad. I don't mind these guys. Now, Ray Acosta, his records with us, we're 53% winning when he's around. We won the last game when he refed, and the Lakers win 48%. So it's 53-48 for us with Ray Acosta. So the 2 younger refs favor us. Marc Davis does not. And then all 3 of them, we won the last game when they refereed. So that's not bad. That's not a bad ref report. Let's see if Marc Davis is coming to LA tonight to give some retribution to Fred VanVleet and the Raptors for his out-of-pocket statements about his colleagues. So we'll see. I don't think that it'll be like that. Once again, Marc Davis is sensitive to how he treats the Raptors because he very much got caught rigging a game against us and us losing. And then they even admitted that he got the call wrong and that we should have won. So he does feel a little bad about that. I'm sure we have not forgotten about it. So he should be very careful about how he treats the Raptors because we do watch. We're watching y'all now. It's so good that we watch y'all and keep you accountable. All right, let's see what else is going on in the comments. I think I read Country Kong. Good morning. Okay, no, Trevor first. Good morning. We're going to get this one. People keep talking about draft picks. Oh, yeah, I read that one. Country Con saying, good morning, Raptors freaks. Happy Friday, everyone. I'm so excited for the game tonight. Let's go get a big win. All the excitement over the last 2 games has me very. Oh, yeah, I read that one. Isaac saying, laugh out loud. Emotions are part of basketball. Don't try and police passion. Well, this really was the statement by Stephen A. Smith. It's like, listen, you want people to get into the game or identify with the players. You got to let them show personality and show passion for the game. And then in some ways, if you want them all to play like robots and not be confined with how they express themselves on the court, that may not be good for the game. That may not be right. And I think that in some ways, them letting Draymond and Dylan do a little bit of back and forth last night in the game is signaling that maybe the refs are like, okay, there is entertainment value in allowing the players to be themselves to a degree. As long as they don't cross certain lines, then what's the big deal? And that may be part of how the NBA changes in the short term or long term because of what's happened this week with Fred speaking out, is that maybe they do allow players more free expression of exuberance or passion or things like, and they really have to be smart in their heads. You're human beings, refs. If you don't want to get replaced by robots, you need to use your intelligence of being a human and your ability to have judgment in the situation about what is apropos, considering the situation that's at hand. And in some ways, Scotty Barnes' ejection right at the end of the game is not apropos to the situation that's at hand, and it comes from emotion. So that's what I'm saying. You guys have the advantage over the computers to be able to read it in the ways that it needs to be read in real life. And that may be how you guys keep your jobs over the robots that are coming for your jobs down the road. So you need to get better at discerning it from the human element of how you look at it and do it right that way, is what I'm saying, instead of using your biases or your emotion. So I'm very excited about seeing maybe we see the refs be completely different in this league in the time being because of the shining light on them because of what Fred said. So we'll have to see. Callie's here. Good to see Callie. I'm so proud of Fred. That took guts. He's moved up a notch in my respect. Some people are saying he's the greatest Raptor of all time. That this press conference where he told the truth and he cussed up a storm. A lot of Raptor fans are saying he's the greatest Raptor of all time now. He is past Kyle Lowry. Because he did this, it put him over the top. And I don't know. I can't disagree totally because he does have the resume of a championship and the All-Star and, a couple other accolades with us that, in some ways he is the greatest Raptor of all time at this point because of his press conference this week. I love it. Wayne's saying we should welcome all the heat from, hang on. We should welcome all the heat from the league. It means we understand that we have to be close to perfect as possible in our execution and basketball IQ. Bring it. We're ready. Yeah, in some ways that pressure is good because it will make us even more so have to be that much precise and good with no room for error because we know, and it's been this way for a while, but in some ways it may be a little bit more visible and transparent than the underlying. It was kind of like under the veil of it. Well, now it's out in the open. And then, maybe some of our fans will respect the Raptors more for what they deal with, that they didn't totally realize how much more they overcome than the average NBA team in some ways, So I'm all about this too. And I mean, listen, these guys have known this for a while. They want to play perfect basketball. They want to play winning basketball, and they want to play at the highest level they're capable of. And in some ways, this is the gumption and the motivation to do it because you have to. Because you may have a little bit more of a bullseye on you from the refs than an average team in the NBA. Fun Guy saying, everybody send me the money and I'll make sure I get it to Fred to pay the fine. Fun Guy, thank God you're back, man. I appreciate you. I'm sorry I had to put you in timeout yesterday. And hopefully you're feeling way better today. I mean, what happened is amazing with the outpouring of support for Fred in the last day or so. Fun Guy's all about paying it. Send him the money. Well, you're not going to pay it yourself? That's awesome. You go, Fun Guy. All right. Scott B saying, hey, Raptor Freak, did you catch the video of OG the day after Denver? He really goes to bat for Scotty in a slick way. These guys are a true team and the best role models in the league. I did see that interview, Scott B. And I think that what was happening in that interview with with OG was that Scotty was standing right there when he was doing that interview because he was looking off camera and he's like, yeah, Scotty's a great guy. I really like playing pickup with him in the off season. And he's saying stuff like that. And he's looking at him. I think he's pretty much looking straight at Scotty when he was doing that interview. And that's part of the reason why he kept bringing him up. No, OG's great. And listen, all the talk about OG not happy or being on this team, that's such bullshit. Everything we see with OG, he's very much at home, feels comfortable. He's with his guys. People don't understand the bonds that he has on this team with people like Fred, Pascal, Jakob, Scotty. I mean, Scotty and OG are like best friends. Seriously, they have such a weird friendship. Like they really like each other. Like Scotty talked about OG last summer on Twitch all the time, and he's his favorite. Seriously, Scotty's favorite teammate is OG, and he goes on and on about OG's so cool. He's so funny. Like I just love being around OG. He's the best. That's all what Scott says about him. And I think the feeling's mutual that OG's like, Scotty's cool and he's fun. So the bromance and friendship between OG and Scotty is very real. And in some ways, it's kind of like it gets to the same level almost as like a DeMar and Kyle in some ways, or maybe even a Jakob and Pascal. There's a real true friendship between those two guys. And that's part of the reason why I was like, OG's not happy. OG doesn't like his role. Well, first of all, people don't understand what OG cares about with his role. In fact, the one thing he cares about the most with his role is the defensive side. He doesn't care about the offensive stuff or the touches. They come as they come, variably each game. Some games he'll get 17 shots and get to make 9 of them. Some games he'll get 6 shots and he'll make 5 of them. But he played ultra good defense on the best player on the other side. And ultimately, his role is that. That's all he cares about, is shutting down the number one guy on the other side. So everybody in the press who was talking about, oh, he wants more touches, he's unhappy because he's not getting used in the way he wants to, that's all bullshit. He's perfectly happy. He's very much enjoying being a Raptor. And they just wish that was true because they wish they could get him on their teams, is really what it is. But yeah, that was a fun interview. It was really short, but I'm totally guessing that Scotty was standing right there while he was doing the interview, and that's why he was saying that stuff. Greg saying, no, was it a press conference, Scott, or some other thing? It was a practice interview. It was from Tuesday or Wednesday. I forget. It was this week. It was a couple days ago. I catch all of them. Like as soon as they come up, I watch them. And there really are a place where I glean what's going on with the team very closely. I mean, obviously, if you're going to get the interview with them that day and you could see them and what they're saying, that listen to the horse's mouth. Don't speculate on it. Go and actually listen to them, Jake Fisher, before you write your stupid ass piece about OG not wanting to be on the Raptors. Bob McCown, you gonna say this shit on the radio? Oh, OG, I heard OG's not happy in Toronto. Oh yeah, I heard that too. I was like, where'd you fucking hear it from? And then did you go listen to him and how he's been talking about the Raptors and how happy he is? Okay, well that doesn't really jive with your line of thinking. It's crazy. Forgetful saying, I think you're barking up the wrong tree regarding referees. Possible, but very unlikely there is corruption. There are better explanations for bias rooted in tendency to see what we expect to see. Interesting, Forgetful. I'm really interested in this comment. I'm going to break it down. I think you're barking up the wrong tree regarding the refs. So do you think that I'm wrong in thinking that there's corruption as far as gambling on the games and that they are actually really vetted really well and they're nowhere near anything like that? I know that there's been rules for the referees that they're supposed to, in their lifestyle, not even play like a lottery tickets or anything. They really can't gamble on anything. I think that there are some codes of conduct for them if they're in that profession that obviously they're not allowed to gamble on sports, I would think. So, but Donaghy really kind of makes it like, listen, he's not the only one, and that's the problem. And he was the only one who was fired. If we think that Tim Donaghy is the only person that was taking advantage of this, you're going to feel like you're naive. Seriously. So I don't know. It's really tough to say. I'm not totally sure what your point is, Forgetful, but I'm saying like, maybe Fred's barking up the wrong tree by going off like this. There's been players many years in the years of the NBA that have made light of the referees and criticize them, and nothing happens. It just gets blown, swept under the rug, and it's off and gone, and time passes. That could be what you mean. But you're saying unlikely there is corruption. Well, I would say this: anytime that the game is not called fairly, even if there's no sports gambling, even if there's no point shaving to make a spread or something like that, it's still corruption because the personal biases of the referee, like Ben Taylor, are showing. And in some ways, if he has a personal problem with Fred, that's not good for the league. He should be unbiased and treat everybody the same way. And even if he had a problem with Fred in a game last week, if he referees another game with Fred next week, he needs to have a clean slate. There can't be an aggregate of anger towards certain players, kind of like Scott Foster and Chris Paul. That is really, really a bad situation because right away it's unbiased. It's biased. Right away, as soon as Scott Foster hits that court and Chris Paul's playing for the Phoenix Suns, that game is biased. So even if there's no gambling or money involved, that's still corruption to me. It's still not good. Let's see. There are better explanations for bias rooted in tendency to see what we expect to see. You think that I'm just looking for what I want to see? No, I want them to be fair. If I see what they're doing is fair, I'll say they're fair. I'll give them credit when credit is due. But Fred very much called out Ben Taylor for very much targeting him, and he has the stats to support it. And that's why his criticism the other night is so effective, is because he said something and people were like, oh, let me go see if that's true. And they said, oh, shit, it is true. Well, that makes it very much substantiated. And that's why it's not like what we want to see. There's real facts and stats that back up what Fred is seeing. There is obviously a problem Ben Taylor has with Fred. In fact, there's a little clip from the game the other night that not very many people are talking about, but they were walking and talking, and Ben Taylor actually throws an elbow into Fred, a very slight, not very big one, but you can tell it's his body language giving away how much he hates Fred, basically. So they're walking along with each other, and you see in the clip their backs. And basically, at one point, Ben Taylor goes like this and hits him in the back and the shoulder. and it's not a natural movement, and it really it exposes his inherent like dislike for him because his body is physically like wanting to hit him as he's walking with him. It's like it may not even be conscious that he did that, but he's like, he did that. Seriously, you can go find that clip that Ben Taylor actually hits him with an elbow while they're discussing what happened just now and the technical that he got. So there's something for real with this. And I should have remembered this from before, that Ben Taylor has a problem with Fred. Well, every time we get Ben Taylor from now on, I'm going to be talking about this, even if his record for us is really good. Like, we win games when he refs, but he hates Fred. It's really weird. It's really, really weird. Wayne's saying, totally understand the employees, but you said ESPN guys are employees too. One can discuss events without giving one's opinion, but we're totally ignoring the content. That's inexcusable. Yeah. I mean, listen, like I said, Jack Armstrong is trying to make it a coach's learning lesson for a young player like Scott Barnes, and saying like, look, you can't do that. At the end of the game, you have to. But what did Scotty do? He didn't do anything that he thought would get that kind of reaction. That's why it's like, it's tough. That's why they're wrong. And you're right, Wayne, is that, look, that we don't know what the hair trigger is going to be for any of the refs at any time. It seems like it's a little ridiculous at this point. If he can say something like under his breath, he didn't even say it loud or direct it to him. He said, they're cheating. He just said, they're cheating. And that was enough. He just barely caught it with his ear. And he's like, that's enough to be not only just not a tech, but an ejection. That's what I'm saying. It's like the emotion of the refs is betraying them. And then also, like, listen, what is fair as far as like a hair trigger that you can go off on them for anything? And what Fred said in his comments in the press conference is, look, this year's been different. Every game, the referees are getting like more and more sensitive, and they're calling shit that has not been called in the past. And we don't know as players what the rules are within it. And we are really confused because we feel like they're calling shit on us that they wouldn't have called last year now. And we don't know where the lines are to even follow the rules because they're so crazy and out of pocket. I can't go over to my guys and say, we got to play through this shit. And you're going to give me a tech for that? Seriously, that's what I'm saying. They're changing the line of what you can cross, and they're bringing it in closer. And what is it? The players just can't talk at all on the court at some point? That's what I'm wondering. Like, that's a slippery slope. All of a sudden, okay, you can't say this word, you can't say this word. Okay, within reason, sure, you shouldn't be able to say certain things on the court, but how far do you continue to go just to protect the sensitivity of the officials? I mean, really, this is what we're talking about here. Is like, what is warranting a technical right now? We got to play through this shit. That warrants a technical? No, with discretion and understanding of the context of it. It's like, why do you like, maybe this shit is the defense of the other team. It has nothing to do with the refs. You know, there's so many ways that they can interpret these things that they're saying, and they're taking it sensitive. It betrays that they're corrupt, is what I'm saying. So, yeah. Yeah, but I love what Wayne's saying here. We're totally ignoring the content. They're ignoring the content as far as like the Raptors tonight. People are ignoring the context of the situation and what is being called, and the out of the thin air. Like, holy shit, he just called a tech on me. Why did you just call a tech on me? You said something about to your players that we got to go through this shit, this bullshit, you know? And like, well, okay, and like, yeah, that's a tech. I'm sorry, that's a tag. I'm like, why? Why is that a tag? That's Fred trying to get the explanation from Ben Taylor. And then obviously he feels like he's been pointed out and like bullied specifically by that referee himself. You know, Fred doesn't get technicals very often. He's very good at walking that line. Well, he hasn't been with Ben Taylor, and that makes me think Ben Taylor's calling him just for anything. Like the way when he called the one on him for throwing the ball off the thing, I saw it at that time. I was like, yeah, Fred, you can't do that, because in ways that will give an opportunity, because they see anybody throw a ball, they throw, they give them a technical. If you throw the ball down hard because you're mad, or you throw it up in the air, or you throw it in the crowd, any of that kind of stuff has been a tech in the history. But in some ways, it was a gray area. It wasn't like he threw it like really, really hard. He kind of bounced it and caught it himself. You know, in similar way to like the bouncing the ball by Jordan Poole to Josh Tiven the other night. It's a very similar kind of tech, and it's kind of stupid. It's kind of a dumb tech. It was like, why would you call a tech on somebody who just bounced off a wall or something like that? It's not, Yeah, they're a little too sensitive, and they're calling shit on crazy shit right now. Greg saying you were right about Gabe. I spoke with management at 9:05 about him last night. Good performance. Koloko had 2 great passes from post last night and hung his head less on mistakes. He's coming around nicely. This is exactly why he needs 9:05 so much, is he can make mistakes and he can also succeed and get confidence. And that's the thing. We want to build confidence in our young players, and they're not going to get as much confidence playing like 8 to 10 minutes, like every 2 or 3 games on the Raptors. They need to go out there, get the reps, and play in big time situations, important situations where the game is on the line and all that kind of stuff. And this is how you develop guys faster and better using the G League system. So I'm so happy to hear this stuff that you're saying, Greg, as far as like Koloko. And also, yeah, you spoke to management and they like Gabe Brown. That's what I'm saying. He's somebody coming up, and I really hope we get him to our main team. Race Mode saying, Lex, solid advice. Thanks. Cuban food in Miami is fantastic. St. Augustine is awesome vintage city. Fred doesn't need the donations. Everyone needs to support Raptor Freak for the positive. Oh, thanks, Edmund. I appreciate that. Yeah, St. Augustine is a fun place because when I was in school, when I was a kid, that was a field trip for us. We'd get to go on the bus and ride all the way over to St. Augustine from Tallahassee. And because it's one of the first cities in North America of European settlers, there's all cool, crazy things like a Spanish fort, San Marcos. There's a Ripley's Believe It or Not museum there. There's a wax museum there. It's a very touristy city. It's very Niagara Falls. And it was just really fun. I have good memories of being in grade school in Tallahassee and getting to go on cool field trips to see the old jail and the old house and the old school and St. Augustine. Just a really cool, fun town. Yeah, I love St. Augustine. Dan saying, I love a bit of grimy ball. For the longest time, I thought the Raps needed to be more aggressive. Big reason I'm so stoked by this roster. I'm a big fan of the big bad boys from the Pistons from the 80s. That was my first favorite NBA team ever. Joe Dumars, the head of the officials. That is kind of ironic that a guy who played in such a grimy, dirty system with Bill Laimbeer and Dennis Rodman is now in charge of the officials. So in some ways, and to me, that makes me trust him more because he really does know that side of physicality and play from his championship days with the Pistons. So in some ways, it's like Joe has to kind of weigh it all in his head because he has the player's perspective. He definitely has the player's perspective of playing on a team that's physical and fouls a lot like us. So I kind of like that, but I'm with you too. I like the characteristics of this Raptors team because it's very blue collar, it's very workmanlike, it's very physical. And these guys are very much aggressive. And I like that Nick Nurse has them going all out on defense because in some ways there's a knock on the NBA that they're lazy millionaires that don't work very hard. Well, you go watch a Raptors game and watch how much these guys are running around all over the place. And you tell me these guys are lazy millionaires because they are definitely working. They're definitely working. And that the questions come up in the last couple of days also to Nick Nurse in the press conferences. Does the style of play by the Raptors on defense cause the Raptors to get more fouls because of the way they play? And Nick's saying, well, yeah, I guess you could say that. And in fact, he even admitted we want them to foul at times, but it really is in situations. Some situations he doesn't want them to foul is a bad foul, like a foul on a screen or a foul like 94 feet at the other end, nowhere near their basket. He doesn't want bad fouls, but he very much does encourage the Raptor players to foul. But he wants them to get their money's worth. He wants them to make them good fouls that are actually stopping plays and stuff. But, in some ways that's true. Our style of play will maybe get us more foul calls. But listen, that still doesn't change that the call is not consistent at two ends of the court. That Kawhi can go and hit us, when we're going up with the basket. And meanwhile, when Kawhi's going to the basket, we're getting called for fouls. And he's not getting called for fouls when we're coming at him. And that's the consistency we want. We want consistency at both ends of the court. We want consistency from game to game also because the whistle changes from different games too. It's really weird. Let's see. Smooth's here. Smooth Brown Man. Let's see what you're saying. Trust me, for all the people wanting draft picks and rebuild, Toronto fans can't handle that shit. Yeah, they don't understand what they're getting into when they wish for this. Like, you just want to rebuild. You want to destroy everything. You want to get rid of Fred. You want to get rid of Pascal. And you want to start all over. Okay, well, I'll see you in 2030 when we finally get back to relevance. That's not the path to good success or anything that we build at this point. We have a very nice sandcastle. We don't want to level it and start all over on the beach. We want to continue to add to it and maybe just change a little bit. Maybe we knock down one tower and build a different one right in one spot. But you don't want to knock down all the work you did on that sandcastle because it actually looks pretty good for the most part. So yeah, I totally agree with you, Smooth. Be careful what you wish for, tankers and rebuild people, because you don't really want that. Honestly, you show that you don't have the patience to deal with a team that's like that, and you would be even worse misery than our season this year, flirting with 500 and having bad losses and tough times. You don't even know what 300 life is like, winning 300. Being a 300 team instead of a 500 team. So yeah, you don't want that. Trust me, you don't want that. Shane saying, Wayne, it is definitely not okay with my heart. My brain agrees with Lex. Let the American media speak on it. There are a very limited amount of NBA fans watching the Canadian media. It makes it a moot point. Yeah. And honestly, listen, like I said, I think they may need to do damage control within our own Toronto Raptors media family just to help the situation for our team. It may be that some of the refs are watching content to see what we're saying. And that Fred's press conference yesterday was an olive branch of saying, look, I'm admitting that I was wrong for how I spoke out and used profanity. And I'm taking accountability for my actions. Well, Joe Dumars watches that. Ben Taylor watches that. Maybe they're like, he's kind of apologizing to us. And he's showing accountability for being out of pocket and maybe speaking. Maybe, they're not going to totally agree with him probably totally about what he's saying, but at least they'll respect him for apologizing and saying that he was a bigger man than that. Some people saying, oh, you shouldn't apologize, Fred. You just told the truth. But in some ways, he's doing fallout public relations afterwards, just in case there is any punitive retribution from the referees because of what he said. There's a lot of different things. There's reasons for like doing it this way. It's like in some ways they're teaching the refs how to be accountable. That's what Fred's doing. He's like, look, I said some things and maybe I went overboard and I apologize and I should be better. I should be more professional. That's what he said yesterday. Well, he's teaching Ben Taylor how to take accountability in some ways in an indirect way. That's the way I read it. But Shane's exactly right. Nobody gives a shit what Jack's saying up here. Nobody gives a shit what Sherman Hamilton and them are saying on Raptors Today. You can go see their views are not much more than mine. In a lot of days, the Raptors Today gets not too many more views than I do from my stream here. So, I like what Shane's saying here. Forgetful saying now, let's see. It jumped a little bit. There is a growing body of research looking at ref bias. The research is showing that it exists and can affect outcomes, although both bias and its effects are much smaller than fans think. Yeah, I don't want to see the bias, but if it's so blatant, like Scott Foster on Monday, that directly caused us to lose. I mean, it was right at the end. It had very monumental impact. It very much gave them points at the free throw line. And that's why I think it was very much calculated by Scott Foster. I do not trust that man. That man already has reasons for us to question his integrity. Well, as soon as he does something on the court that's so fishy like that, like an out of the blue ejection that causes extra free throws in a very close one possession game that makes it a 2 possession games for the Nuggets, that's so fishy, and it's so completely controlled by Scott Foster. That's the problem. That is really a problem. But would I say that most games are decided by the refs? No. But there are games that are very much decided by them, and that game on Monday was. Now, the game on Wednesday, I won't say that it was completely decided by Ben Taylor, but he definitely made an unfair advantage against us with the call and the discrepancy in the free throw attempts. But once again, the Raptors can be perfect and play that much better and still overcome it and beat it. And that's the difference, I would say, between the Denver game and the Clippers game. The Denver game, there was no way we were winning it. Scott Foster made sure. But in the Clippers game, sure, maybe Ben Taylor was showing a bias against us, but we still had opportunities to try and win that game. But once there's a ref bias, and then there's also players that are really, really good, like Kawhi Leonard on the other side, that's a really hard thing to overcome. And that's the way I look at it. Tom's got the food out. I love it. He's got the buffet. He's got a ton of pancakes from Marc Davis. I love that with the 100% Canadian maple syrup, and they're in oil drums. So we got to make sure that there's a ample supply amount for Marc Davis. Hopefully there's a ton of syrup and a big, huge 15 to 20 point Toronto Raptors lead over the Lakers tonight. That's what I'm talking about. There's some sushi. I see we got some kane with some rice. There's some tuna there also. And then boom, pasta party. That's right. Go get Hidu Turkoglu, ball. Yeah, we got the pasta party. Go get some Andrea Bargnani, and there's some salads too. Tom knows that if you're going to get Italian bar of like food, like all you can eat, you better have a salad part to it in there too. So Tom, good job. I hope that Marc Davis, Ray Acosta, and Brian Forte enjoy the food. All right, Dizzy's here. Good to see Dizzy B. Hey, Raptor Freaks. First time in my life, I'm feeling the warm and fuzzies for Marcus Smart. He was definitely throwing props to Freddie. In some ways, Marcus Smart and Fred are birds of a feather. They're very gutsy, gritty leaders for their team. They do all kinds of stuff and put the team ahead of themselves in a lot of ways. So there is a lot of respect between these guys. And if we play the Celtics in the first round after the play-in, it'll be fun to rematch against them in the bubble. But I like that there is a lot of bonds of common respect between Celtics and Raptors players. We know that OG and Jaylen Brown have a very special friendship, and that they very much respect battling each other when they get on the court against each other. There's not a lot of hate between the players on the Raptors and the Celtics, but there's definitely hate between our fan nations and different other stuff. But the players like each other, that's for sure. Cowboys saying, good morning, Lex and Raptor Freaks. Bam. Let's get that W tonight and start a win streak. Also, salute to Freddie. I'm proud of him. And that Banton dunk was smooth last night. Let's go Raptors. So nice to see Delano Banton back healthy and playing at a high level for the 905 last night. Too bad they didn't win, though. But thank you for being back, Delano. I want to see you play better and better and better. And yeah, more on the Raptors too. Thank you, Bradley, and have a great Friday. TGIF, be safe today. Forgetful saying, tilting at corruption windmill will not solve the problem of ref bias. More understanding of the cognitive and emotional basis of bias will be more productive. Okay, I can get behind that. You feel like, all right, if we're going to come at them and be critical of them, if we're bringing in this whole Donaghy thing, that may be too much of a soft spot for them. And they may be very like, no, and very protective. But maybe we can get more from them if we don't come at it from that approach. And maybe just say, listen, we understand that some of the refs may have personal biases against some of the players. Forget about the gambling. Forget about any of that kind of scrutiny. We just want you to stop having people you have grudges against and stop having feuds against. Is that what you mean? Forget, don't even bring in like possibly that they're real big time criminals and that they're making money off of this. Let's just talk about, do you have a bias against Fred, Ben Taylor? And can we work this out? Like Fred said, I'd love to talk to the guy outside the game and clear the air and get an understanding with him. Is there an avenue to do that? Maybe before the game there is. I don't know. Maybe you guys stand around in the middle of the court and you say, listen, Ben, I have no problem with you personally, but why do I feel like you have a problem with me? And can we work this out? Is there something I did? Do you not like my waves? Do you not like my cool beard? Do you not like my awesome swagger of how I'm a badass and I came in this league as undrafted player and became an all-star? What is it? What is it you don't like about me, Ben? Can we work this out and just clear the air? That would be great because Fred's a mature guy and he doesn't want to have any ref have a bias against him like Ben's shown. So I'm sure he'd like to figure it out. There may be a productive way to figure it out that way, just by talking to each other. And who knows? Maybe he just really hates Fred no matter what. He's like, no, I don't want to talk to him. Fuck him. I don't know. It's crazy. David's saying, if I was a basketball player, I would lose more money than I made. I have always been appalled by how egregious the refs are at their job, how much they are overpaid. Insanity. I don't even know how much they make. I don't. Listen, they do fine the refs. It's just we don't know about it. They probably do get fined for bullshit or they get punished. They get punished or something. I think one of the ways they really do punish them is they just don't give them jobs. Like if they're not working games, they're being punished. It's like they go out of the rotation and they're just not coming and getting games to work. It's really kind of like that is how they do it. Maybe they don't get as many work days, they don't make as much money. And that is how they influence the refs to be as unbiased and good and fair as possible. Because they did say recently they do punish and reward the referees. They reward them by giving them playoff work. Like if they do really well during the regular season, they get to be on the playoff referee roster. Because not all the refs get to ref in the postseason. So if they ref really well, they get their grades right on getting correct calls. They get good grades. They get to ref in the playoffs, and if they are really good in the playoffs, they get to ref in the finals. So there are rewards for good reffing, and they said that there's punishments also that we don't know about. But I don't think they may not be fines. They may are more likely to be you lose out on opportunities to work games is what it is. So yeah, I'm appalled by their job at times too. I really am, David. Yeah, that's funny. You would say you lose all your money. Scott B saying, sorry, Greg, missed that. I watch everything from the Raptors channel, Chev, Lex, and lately any content I talk about only come from that content. Welcome to the club. Yeah, Scott B, you go. Yeah, that's one of the best sources. Forget about any of the Raptors Tonight or Raptors Today talking heads. Forget about any other content. The best content for learning about the Raptors is straight from their mouths. Every single practice interview, every post-game interview, every pre-game interview with Nick Nurse and the players is where you get that fruit. You really get a chance to see how they're doing. You can see whether Pascal looks tired and congested and sick. You can see whether OG's happy being on the team. You can see where Nick is at. Nick looked really like tired and kind of like frazzled in his interview yesterday. He looked like aged, actually. He looked like he looked older. He's getting closer to 60. And I'm like, he's starting to show a little bit of aging on Nick. He's a younger looking guy, but he looked like really like he's been going through stress this week. And maybe just a lot of stress this whole season. We also know that Nick missed games for a little while because of a personal reason, and we still don't know what that personal reason was. So, it could be that this has been an extremely stressful season for Nick Nurse personally. And I worry about him because he does seem like he's way more stressed out this season than ever. He's been shorter and quicker to his temper, and he just seems like he's not having as much fun coaching the Raptors this season. And it's obvious why. The season has been very difficult. But, there are other things I think that are happening with him that we don't know about that are also stressing him out other than the Raptors, just to put it that way. Fun guy saying, oh, wow, I made several comments on the videos about that Ben Taylor shoulder. I'm so glad you're attentive and caught that too. So many people did notice some real beef between them. There you go, fun guy. Man, I'm so glad to see you're back on the light, on the good side. Yeah, I saw that yesterday. And I was like, holy shit, that is a real thing. It may be just a tap, but in some ways it's an involuntary like body movement that he's making out of like emotion and just saying, how you can tell, like if you're a little bit angry with somebody, you may be like a little bit, well, that's how it looked. And I'm glad you saw it too, fun guy. Tom Duke saying 5 of Fred's 8 techs this year have been in Ben Taylor's games. Ben has only officiated us 8 games this season. Yeah, it's a very high percentage, and it does very much look like that. This is something that they track everything about the refs. Well, they may need to start tracking bias towards specific players, because if it looks really bad like this, then we start to think, okay, in the history of the NBA, this is just how it is. There's been bias and feuds between players and referees. So it's in some ways, it's just part of how it has been. But in some ways, maybe we should fix this now, since there's a spotlight on it and there's an ability to have a conversation on it, since Fred made space for it. I think, all right, one of the times Fred got thrown out of the game was with Carl Lane. And it was a really weird situation where Fred was thrown out really quickly right after halftime in the third quarter. I forget the game it was. And I was really shocked by it. I was like really upset. Oh, no, it was Kevin Cutler. It wasn't even Carl Lane. It was Kevin Cutler that threw him out. And he's like a really big ref. That's why I got him confused with Carl Lane, because they're both really big refs. And I remember that game. I was like, Fred just got tossed at the beginning of the third quarter. And I was like, that's a big bully move. Like, that ref is so huge, and he's throwing out our littlest guy. And I felt like that's such a bully. And I was like, but I remember now that throwing him out, Ben Taylor was one of the other refs in that game at the same time. So Kevin Cutler was actually doing the dirty work But Ben Taylor was one of the refs in that crew also. You guys remember that game when Fred got thrown out at the very beginning of the third quarter and we had the whole rest of the second half to play and Fred was gone all of a sudden? That was messed up. Tom Duke saying that one on the stanchion was so soft. Yeah, when Fred just kind of threw it like this and it bounced back to him, he didn't hurt anybody. It was kind of like maybe just a little relief valve for like feeling frustrated with the game. He's just like, ugh. And then he bounced back. But as soon as he did, I was like, oh shit, Fred. I knew he might get a tech for that. And he did. Ben Taylor was right on top of him for it. MSJ saying, I like Tarpon Springs as a kid. Yeah, there's different places down in Florida. Silver Springs, Satellite Beach, Cape Canaveral, Ocala, Tampa. Yeah, there's all kinds of fun places down in Florida. Tarpon Springs, yeah. Fiercely saying, good morning, fam. Sending positive vibes for tonight. You go, Fiercely Seixeiro. She's actually down in that neck of the woods for March break. I don't know if she's back yet, but she was down there in Central Florida this week too, Fiercely. So she's down there getting the sunshine too, just like Edmund. That's good. Forgetful has retracted his message. Keep talking to me, Forgetful. Greg saying consistency of calls is definitely the issue. It jumped. Not just for one team versus the other, but from first quarter to fourth quarter where it still is burning us. Yeah. Yeah, I've talked about this recently, Greg, is where like the line that you can cross has changed even within the game. And I'm not even talking about talking and text. I'm talking about with contact and fouling. It's like they swallow the whistle for the whole entire game. And then in the last 3 minutes, they're starting to call calls all of a sudden. That kind of is what happened in Denver on Monday, is that they swallowed the whistle for like almost the whole entire game. And then finally, at the end of the game, Scott Foster and them started calling whistles all the time. Well, that kind of goes opposite what the NBA refs have done historically. Like historically, they'll call a tight game during the game, but at the end of the game, they don't want to influence the outcome of the game. So they swallowed the whistle at the end of the game. So it's kind of like the inverse happened. And in some ways, you train yourself to play a certain way where you can go all out on defense because they're swallowing the whistle. Well, all of a sudden, they just click a switch and they say, okay, we're going to start calling it now. You don't warn the players when that happens. And they can really manipulate things by doing it to one team specifically all of a sudden. And that's what I'm saying. Like it's an underlying ref hit job if the calls aren't consistent with contact and fouling throughout the game. And that's what Greg's talking about right here. Yeah. Yeah, that's one way of looking like when there's contact allowed in the first 3 quarters, and then in the last quarter, all of a sudden they're calling fouls that they didn't call a quarter ago. Yeah, that's messed up because they had a certain standard they set for them to play for the game, and they're switching it in the middle of the game. It's like changing the rules in the middle of a board game. Yeah, the rules on the last turn were this, but now we're changing the rules on this turn. You can't do that. And you see how it's not even bias, it's manipulation in the game. So Cowboys saying Fred VanVleet is going to start a movement. I think more players will start saying the same thing after stupid call on them. Also, have you called Nurse in a while? Let's go Raptors. We win by 13 points tonight. I could call Nick. I haven't called him in a while, that's for sure. No, like I said at the beginning of the stream, in some ways, Fred VanVleet may become shorthand for saying what he said. It's almost like you don't have to catch that fine, Marcus Smart. You just go ahead and say in your interview, you know Fred VanVleet, you know what he said? Okay, that's what I want to say. And that's it. Okay. You're going to fine him because he just said that, Adam Silver? Because he just said, oh, I want to say what Fred VanVleet just said. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, that could be the shorthand. You're in press conference and after the game and like, how do you feel the game went, LeBron? Fred VanVleet. That's all I have to say. Thank you. And then they know it's shorthand. That's all you have to say, Fred VanVleet. And then they know exactly what they mean. And then, I mean, do you give him is Fred's name going to become a fine? Oh, he said Fred VanVleet after the game. Ooh, he's criticizing the refs. I don't know. It could be a really cool shorthand code for the fans and the players to get across a message real easy without maybe possibly catching money that they have to pay. Just say Fred VanVleet. Marcus Smart, how do you feel about the refs tonight? Fred VanVleet. Oh, okay. All right. We know what you mean. And yeah, everything's cool. Let's see. MSJ saying it is betting and it is skewing the games. No need to look any further than money. And it could be 5% of all games, but it's there now. I like that. All right, listen, some people are trying to say, I know Forgetful and different people are trying to say, okay, it's not about gambling. It's not about this. But I really am kind of more with MSJ. that seriously, gambling is a big part of what these things that happen in sports, not just with the NBA. It happens with the NFL. It happens with all the different sports. If people are going to gamble and there's going to be criminals that are gambling, whether it's legal or illegal, there's always going to be illegal gambling rings on top of the legal gambling rings. And those powers may be very strong and be in a crime syndicate. And you don't even know the powers that some of these crime syndicates could have to influence things. It could very well be that they're strong arming Scott Foster. We'll kill your daughter if you don't keep working for us. You're our cash cow on the NBA level. It could be all kinds of crazy shit that you don't even realize that's underlying. Some people will say, well, you watch too much movies, Lex. You watch too much TV. Well, listen, this shit is for real. The mafia is for real. Gambling on sports is real. And, if these people can game any edge and make easy money, they will. Watch that Tim Donaghy special. Seriously, that's a real thing. And that really happened. The NBA wishes it never happened. But you know what? Shit like that has been happening since the NBA started. And there is always going to be a level of it. It's just that you want to minimize it. And you definitely want to make sure that your people that are employed and working for the league as officials are out of it and not caught by it or, tainted by it or compromised by it. That's what I'm saying. Because it is true. You'd be naive to think that there's no organized crime that has interest in the outcomes of sporting events and they find any way to game it and figure it out, whether it's by information or having somebody in their pocket like Tim Donaghy. So, yeah, let's not be naive and just be like, oh, the world's nice and fairy tales. No, there's a real seedy side to it. There really is. And MSJ's right. Monique is saying, I hope most of you signed the petition, got a big lead, and the rest of the starters, maybe I'm right. Yeah, I'd like to get a big lead tonight. Listen, we should out-talent this Laker team. Without LeBron and Russell, and if AD's hurt, this team is not that good, and we should out-talent the hell out of them. Not having Mo Bamba is great, too. I really do like our chances tonight. We're angry, we're aggressive, we're mad. We need to win tonight. We definitely need this win tonight. And I know that the other side's saying the same thing because they're in the fight of their lives, too. That Western Conference playoff race is really jammed up. And from the fifth seed down to the 13th seed, they're all only 4 games separated so many teams, 8 teams. So it's the elevator going up or down in the Western Conference is real quick right now. You're either going to go up or down. And the Lakers can't afford to lose too many games because they could actually fall out of the play-in if they're not careful. So that's what I'm saying. They're going to have a lot of gumption to try and win this game tonight also because they have very, very much play-in implications that have to do with whether they win or not. So both teams will be very much up for the challenge tonight. But we'll have to see how they line up and whether their talent will even be good enough to go up against ours because we really do have a good, talented team. Let's see. And I do like getting a big lead right away, Monique. I think that's exactly right. And if we do really well and we route them and we're able to rest guys, that's fine. But on the other hand, we should play guys to win for sure tonight because we don't play again until Tuesday. They get 3 days off in the next couple of days to travel back, get adjusted to the time change in the time zones. And, so they should play the starters as much as they want because they've got lots of days to rest. Greg saying, I will say the flip side is important. Young players are entering the league with quick triggers, but no actual NBA clout. Watching Scoot get tossed 4.2 techs in scrappy game Monday night speaks volumes to me. Yeah. Well, I mean, all right, listen, I can understand players are going to come in and they may be knuckleheads and they may need to learn the rules of the NBA. And maybe that is part of what Scott Foster was doing with Scotty Barnes the other night. But still, everything within reason. And if you're intelligent and you can suss things out on a case by case basis, instead of just being this is this and being heavy handed, sometimes it's not warranted, even if it is technically breaking the rules. And it's just kind of okay, yeah, that's kind of fucked up. Why did you do that? Even though technically you could, and it is the rule, but it's not, there has to be discretion is what I'm saying. The referees need to have more discretion about how they call the game and maybe take their own personal emotions and feelings out of it. The more they're data from Star Trek, the Next Generation, and less like Worf, the better. Let's just put it that way. You need to be like Data or Spock and just I have no emotions, live long and prosper, whatever. and like not be like Worf, like, I'm so angry, I'm coming. No, that's the difference. They need to very much be like computers and be very like C3PO. Like, I'm no emotions. I'm just a robot. The more refs can be like that, the better, because that helps the integrity of the game. The emotions betray you in the NBA, whether you're a player or a referee. They really do. Cowboys saying, how do you sign this petition? Everyone smash the like button for the best Raptors content. Thank you, Bradley. Let's go, Raptors and Raptor Freaks. You go, Bradley. It's on change.org. If you go to change.org and you search for Scott Foster, you will find a petition to remove him from the NBA. And it has thousands of signatures on it. I'll bet you Chris Paul's is on there too. Nameless is saying every possible thing Robert Pensair says is designed and predicted on manipulating your fear and vulnerability. Yeah, he's like Fox News for Raptors Nation. You want to get a Fox News treatment of Raptors content? Go watch Pensair. He will prey on your fears. He will tell you what you should be worried about. He will tell you why Fred's a horrible person, just like they say Joe Biden's a horrible person. Joe Biden is Fred VanVleet on Pensair basketball, basically. So, yeah, he's very manipulative and stuff like that. And I thought I saw a little bit, like it came in my feed. I normally don't see him in my YouTube feed, and it suggested his video from the other night after the press conference, and it was crazy, his take on it. He was really coming down on Fred and very angry at him, and totally the opposite of anybody else's reaction since. And I love it. You're an idiot, Robert Pensair. You're an idiot. And you make that content so quick and you don't see the fallout exactly. Well, now you look like a dumbass and the whole thing about it. And I'm sure Raptor fans come and see your content about Fred and they're like, no, I don't see this. Maybe he has less subscribers because of this whole situation, because more people are like, yeah, Fred's a badass and we love him. Why would you want him off our fucking team? And why do you think he's greedy and he cares about money? He just spent $30,000 because he loves the Raptors and winning and wanting to win. And he's the captain, and he cares more about that than that $30,000. He wanted to say that. So there's a lot of things that are getting holes punched through them as far as his belief about Fred VanVleet in the last couple of days. And now that Fred's the champion and the hero of the league, I'm sure he really loves that. You fucking idiot, Robert. Oh my gosh. Nago saying you can find gems late in the draft. I don't think this upcoming draft is that different. There's this one guy, Cason Wallace, a guard who looks real smart, supposed to go out of the lottery. Okay, Nako's already scouting the draft. I don't do that anytime soon. We got to go through the postseason, do all kinds of stuff. I'm very much right at the end. I'll look at all this stuff the week of the draft. But yeah, I like that you're looking ahead, and that's our MO. We don't need a draft pick at any point in the draft. We can draft a nice piece of somebody coming into our team, and that we don't need a real high draft pick for that. Infamous is saying Kyrie came out and said that gambling has ruined the purity of the game. Yes, Infamous. Thanks for bringing this up. I did see Kyrie bring this up, and a lot of people are backlashing against him and saying like, oh, well, fantasy sports had this problem with it before and stuff. Kyrie's angst about the gambling, some people are trying to say that it's because people put parlay bets on the players to get certain benchmarks with like points and rebounds. And when the player doesn't get there and they're like 1 or 2 rebounds short, fans are coming after them on social media and adding them. You made me lose $500, fucking Kyrie, fuck you, and all this kind of stuff. And some people are thinking that's why he's upset about it, but I don't think that's why he's upset about it. I think that this is very much a place where I have a commonality with Kyrie Irving, that he looks at basketball in a totally different way, devoid of like the sports betting and the money involved in it. He looks at it as a pure love of the sport and loving ball and playing and shooting and competing in that way. And then in some ways, he understands how the gambling all around the NBA at this point is sullying it and making it worse. That, some of the fans say, oh, I started gambling on the games recently because it's legal now. And I hated it. I did not enjoy watching the game as much because I had my own personal selfish interests about the game. And I found myself getting more stressed out and not enjoying it as much because of the aspect of the money I put on the game. And I think that that's what he's talking about, is that he was really making a distinction between a real fan like us that loves the team and is a passion for rooting for your team, win or lose, and that you're just somebody who watches basketball because you're a fan of your team, and somebody who watches games because they gamble on the games and they're only have an economic interest in watching the games. that this is the problem he has with it, is he wants real fans. He loves the real fans, the real ones like us that love the sport. And he has a real problem with people that are only watching the NBA just to keep up on their bet and see if they came through. And I think that's very interesting and astute and intelligent of Kyrie to understand this. And much like Fred speaking out about the refs, I kind of really like that Kyrie spoke out on this, that this is maybe the best thing he's done all year to me. And that this is something I'm very much worried about. You know, the legalization of gambling on the NBA, it may not be a good thing. And in the long run, it may very much cause major problems for the league down the road. So, yeah, I'm not for all the gambling in sports at this point. I think that in some ways, the big major sports leagues are gambling with their existence by having gambling so intertwined with their presentation and what they're doing. In some ways, it's like I feel bad for young kids. They're growing up. They'll never, ever watch sports programming without seeing lines and having some idiot talking about gambling and stuff like that. In some ways, it indoctrinates young people to get gambling addictions. Gambling is evil in a lot of ways. It can be done in a respectable, responsible way, but most people don't. It's very addictive, and people ruin their lives all the time. And that's why I have a big problem with all this. I don't gamble myself because I have an addictive personality. I'm an alcoholic, and I know I could easily fall into a path of very, very destructive behavior if I started gambling on NBA games, even with all my expertise. Some of me says, oh, you could make a lot of money, Lex, because you really know what you're looking at and talking about. But also some of me knows that's a slippery slope and a path that I don't want to go down to possible financial ruin just because of that. So that's why I don't like this. There's a reason why they don't advertise cigarettes on television anymore. And I think that the NBA and other sports leagues need to realize that it is a cancer and it's a bad thing to have sports betting so intertwined with your presentation and the fabric of your sport at this point. It's not good. Trust me. It's not. And so I appreciate your comment, Infamous, and bringing up this subject, because this is something that I would have forgot to bring up that I actually did want to talk about today. Some ways you guys are my cue cards. You bring up what you care about, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I did see this. And then we talk about it because I really am coming off the fly. I might have not spoken about this if you hadn't said that. So I'm really appreciate that. Let's see. Clink saying, haha, that would be clutch if the entire CBA membership does the Fred VanVleet shorthand complaint to league this summer. Oh, my God, ref, that's a bad call. Morphs on the court into Fred VanVleet like it's a curse. Laugh out loud. Well, it could. It's very good shorthand at this point, and people know what you're exactly saying. If you just say Fred VanVleet, maybe you say right said Fred. That's I think that's so funny that it's playing off of that I'm Too Sexy band from back in the day, because this kind of makes sense. Right said Fred. Fred said it right. Right said Fred. It's a kind of a cool new nickname for him. Right said Fred. Fiercely saying, where can we watch the Tim Donaghy special? Netflix? I signed the petition. Yes. Fiercely, it is on Netflix right now. It's called Untold, the Tim Donaghy story, and it's very illuminating. The one person in that, they have different people they talk to. They talk to Tim Donaghy. He's a liar, first of all. Don't totally listen to him. We know he's a liar. Listen to Batista. Listen to the mobster. He's the one who's telling the truth. I watched that with open eyes, and when I was watching it, I was like, okay, these guys all have different stories. There's 3 different people they talk to. There's Tim Donaghy, there's the middleman, and then there's the guy who actually was the mobster that was making all the money off Tim Donaghy. Well, the mobster that was making all the money off Tim Donaghy, he's the only one who's telling the truth. So when you watch that special, listen to Batista. He's the one who's telling the truth. The other 2 guys are lying and covering their own ass afterwards. Tim Donaghy made a deal with the DA and the NBA to lessen his punishment if he came out and denounced it and took credit for it and said he was the only one and that this and this and this happened, and he became the fall guy. And as part of the deal of him being the fall guy, he had to say that I'm the only one who did this. I'm the only one. There's no other problems. So he's fallen in a company line to save himself from extra jail time. And that Batista has nobody that he's worried about. So he can just tell the truth at this point. So watch it with open eyes and see if you do your BS detector like I do, and you find that the most credible person is Batista in that special. Seriously, watch it. You'll see what I'm saying. MSJ saying at Forgetful, fair enough. But Timmy D was a ref who was the evidence, and he has the books. But yes, don't gamble, people, my opinion. But has it all ruined the Raptors season? No. The Raps just can't shoot. That is part of it. That is part of the contribution of what's wrong with the Raptors is we have a really bad shooting season this year. Maybe we have a very good shooting season next year. We'll have to see. Yeah, Tim Donaghy, there's no denying that he did something really wrong with the mafia. And that's what I'm saying. He's not the first one either. He's just the first one to get caught. There's guys that have been doing this since the history of the NBA started. Seriously, you don't think people were making money off the Celtics in the 60s? Yeah, they were. There's all kinds of different ways that gambling has been intertwined with the NBA over the years. And for the longest time, they wouldn't let Las Vegas have an NBA team because of its proximity to all the gambling. Well, now they don't care. They can have a team in Las Vegas, and they will probably. In fact, they're saying that when LeBron retires, he's going to get ownership of a team in Las Vegas, and it's going to be the team that he owns, just like Michael Jordan owns the Hornets. Well, LeBron's team's going to be in the next expansion. It'll be a Las Vegas team, and he will be the guy who owns it. He wants to be the owner. He doesn't want to be the GM or anything. He wants to own an NBA team. Let's see. Blackhawk saying we need Barton back tonight, and our intensity has to be a full 48 minutes. Fred VanVleet painted a target on his back. Refs will prove that tonight. I don't know. We'll have to see. In some ways, listen, it's a really weird situation because it's such a public thing. It's an NBA game. And in fact, this game's on NBA TV tonight nationwide in the United States once again. So listen, there may be extra viewership for the game tonight specifically because of what you're talking about, Blackhawk. Well, maybe there'll be some fans that normally wouldn't watch a Raptors game that are interested to see how Fred gets treated in this way. So what I'm saying is there may be more eyes on it, and there may be more people watching. And then maybe the refs don't want to double down on looking real crooked by having punitiveness against him. So this is a very careful thing they have to deal with here. Even if they want to get him or be punitive towards him, we're watching. It's kind of like the bully beat on the kid, and the kid said something about it, and now everybody's watching the bully to see if the bully will beat on him some more. So that's what I'm saying. They may not. You may be very well much. We get a lot more favor for the rest of the season because of this. We found in the past, in the playoffs, when Nick Nurse got fined for criticizing the official's whistle, that all of a sudden we got calls better in games after that. So it could very well go either way. It could be that they painted a target on his back and they will punitively take things out on Fred. Or it could be that they are going to kiss his ass a bit and show that they aren't against him because they don't want the rest of us watching to think that they are fucking like this. That's what I'm saying. This is a really tough situation for them. And in some ways, Fred's a badass for this. He really is an outlaw and a rebel. And I appreciate it. So we will be watching. Go ahead and punish Fred. And we'll call them out on it. And we'll put it on blast. And the NBA will look even worse. In some ways, Joe Dumars wants this fire to go out. And if referees are going to take shit out on Fred further, it won't go out if they do that. So in some ways, we got them right where we want them. Either they're going to look bad and punish us and hurt us, and they'll get called out on it and put on blast, or they're going to favor us and look out for us. Or at worst, they just call it right down the line and do it the way we'd like them to do. So, yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath on that as far as things. I do agree. We want Will Barton back tonight. We need the firepower. We need the extra shooting off the bench. And yes, please be healthy and ready to play tonight. All signs point to that being true, that he will be ready to play tonight. And I agree. Intensity has to be on full. They got to play perfect. Like Fred said, sometimes we just got to play perfect to overcome everything and make sure we get that W. Cowboy saying to true, Nako. And for all the tankers out there talking that negative garbage, we got a great young roster. I bet all of them were the ones out there that wanted to draft Suggs. Laugh out loud. Scotty is the man. You go, Bradley. Yes. Yes. No more negativity. Let's be positive, Raptors fans. Let's be positive in our Raptors nation. We got a great captain named Fred VanVleet who has the respect and the love of the rest of the league for being outspoken and being courageous. There's so much to be proud about our team. Forget about the wins and losses this year. Forget about how you feel about our future. Our future is bright. I can tell you that, and you may not believe me, but it really, really is very, very bright. And there's so many good things to be excited and enthusiastic about if you are a Raptors fan. Trust me, there really is. Forgetful saying, MSJ, There is no evidence that the NBA game outcomes are currently affected by gambling, but a whole new generation is being sucked into gambling and thousands into a destructive addiction. Problem number one. I agree with this. I mean, I guess there isn't any evidence at this point right now, but in some ways, just because of the whole structure of gambling around the NBA, it's real easy to see why there would be motives for a conspiracy to do fucked up shit in the game as an official. I don't know. I really do think the more the older refs leave, the better. That these younger refs maybe can be more milk toast and fade in the background like Homer into the hedge and just not be a part of like the scenery or like the knownness of the league. The less the refs are known, the better. And the more that people like Scott Foster and Ben Taylor's names are out in public and people know who they are, the worse it is. So that's not what Adam Silver wants. He wants them to be as anonymous as having the name John Smith. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that Forgetful is right in some ways. Like I know he's trying to understand. He's standing up for the integrity of the game, and in some ways that's very smart because he's protecting the NBA from like going downhill and being gone. Because in some ways it could be very destructive and destroy the whole entire league. And in some ways, that's the line that the company wants to toe. Is there's no problem with this. When Sue called Adam Silver's office last year and left a message and got a reply from them as carbon copy. They just say, we have the best referees in the world. There's integrity. We don't believe that there's any cheating and all this kind of stuff. They're going to want to say that and put that out over and over again. And in some ways, Forgetful's fighting that fight for them. And I don't disagree. In some ways, I do want to protect the league because I don't want to destroy it completely. I just want to fix it. So not fix it with games and gambling, but fix it as far as the problems with possibilities of that and things. But I think that he's right as far as the bigger problem is the gambling stuff outside of the game and people getting sucked into an addiction very quickly because it's in their face over and over again. Country Kong is here to say, whether we avoid the play-in or not, I believe we have the experience and continuity on this team to give us the ability to vastly outplay our current position, especially in a win-or-go-home scenario. Yeah. Well, let's test this. If we're going to be in the play-in, we're going to do or die games. Well, let's see if we can do or die, and that'll be fun. That we can get a really quick, easy success like the Minnesota Timberwolves did last year by winning their play-in game. You saw how they celebrated. Well, even if we don't win the championship, even if we don't win a playoff round, if we win a play-in and get into a playoff spot, that is a small victory. And that is something to celebrate and have some joy about. And in some ways, we need that this season as Raptors Nation. This has been a very joyless season at times and a very fucked up and sad one. It's almost like a tragedy this season. So any kind of sunshine or happiness we can get from anything, even the small victories like winning a play-in, that we need to enjoy that and relish it and not poo-poo it or make it seem like, okay, well, it's not this, it's not that. Fuck that. It's an accomplishment still. And with this season, the way things have gone, we want every little small victory we can tout. Seriously. And I do think it's like, listen, we're better than most of the other play-in teams. We're going to kick any of their asses. And we'll give a good run in the first round also, even if it's against Milwaukee or Boston. Monique's saying NBA standing watch tonight, apparently. Okay, let's see who the games are tonight real quick since Monique has brought it up. Tonight's games to watch for the standings. Well, let's see if Portland can take care of the Sixers at 7 o'clock. That would be nice. Trailblazers, you've not been beating teams to help us, but we want you to beat all the Eastern teams when you play them, please. Atlanta and Washington are playing once again tonight. They just played the other night, and Atlanta beat Washington. Well, in some ways, we need Atlanta to do it again, even though in some ways we kind of want Washington to win. So either one, it's a wash. Either we get Atlanta closer to us to try and reach up and get it past them, or if Washington wins, they're more nipping at our heels and more even with us too. So either way, there's a win and a loss with either one of them winning or losing. So that's a push, either one. Of course, we'd like Cleveland to beat Miami, but in some ways, I don't mind if Miami beats Cleveland. That is an important game for things that are going on. Minnesota, can you beat the Nets tonight? The Nets have not been losing enough, and we do need the Nets to lose more. So Timberwolves, take care of some business in that one. There you go. There's your standings watch with Monique. MSJ saying, I agree with the number one issue. Yeah. See, listen, we can disagree, but we all come together and agree on some stuff, and that's all good. I like that Forgetful's kind of standing up for the league and the integrity of it in a way. And I feel like that is important to a degree. that, we don't want to completely destroy this league. We really do want to just fix it. We don't. I keep saying that. I don't mean, you know what I mean. Anyway, Greg saying, rolling on the floor laughing regarding Panzer. Watch this breakdown of the tape from the Wizards game where he sets out the trash Fred's hoops IQ. Anyone who plays coaches hoops can see the mistakes aren't Fred's in the clips. Irony. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even going there and watch it. I just saw the headline. I'm like, this dude's really coming after him for speaking the truth in the press conference. Is hilarious. Such an unpopular opinion by Panzer there. Seymour saying, after seeing Poole get attacked for throwing the ball, we're in trouble. We're going to get teed up just for breathing. Anyway, hope you all have a great Friday. Let's fucking go, Raptors. You go, Seymour Pape, sorry. I think that when I looked at that some more, because I did go and investigate that more, I think that part of the problem was he threw it at his feet a little bit. The camera angle doesn't look exactly right. And maybe that's why Josh Tim was like, you try to throw that at my feet? Because I think that that's what it was. Because he had to kind of go low to get it. And I think that's why he was pissed at him. He's like, well, you threw it low. But that's still kind of a fucked up tech to call on a player just from trying to be helpful, throw the ball to him. It's like, oh, you threw it a little low. Like, in some ways I understand. Everybody's saying, oh, you need to throw it to their chest if you're throwing it to the ref or something like that. But when you throw it down low, maybe you're trying to hit him in the nuts. Like, maybe that's what Josh Tiven thought. He's like, oh, Jordan Poole, if I hadn't grabbed that would have hit me in the nuts. And you may have made me look bad. That may have been part of it. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be like justifying Josh Tiven in this situation. But I was trying to look at what's the reasoning for him to give him that tech. And I'm like, maybe he tried to throw it at his nuts. I don't know. I don't know. That's weird. Country Kong saying, I'm not concerned about Fred's comments causing us trouble in the future. To be honest, how much more biased could the refs be without giving themselves away? The Scott Foster fiasco is extremely brazen to me. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're exactly right, Country Kong. And that's why it's like they're already screwing us over to the utmost. What, they're going to do a little more, put a cherry on top? Well, then they're going to really blow their cover at that point. So in some ways, yeah, you pushed it so far. Yeah, you can't go any further without looking really, really bad. So we'll go ahead and bet on ourselves and drop some F-bombs and call out Ben Taylor. Yeah, Fred bet on himself, and he was right. And he got a really good $30,000 bet on himself. Very worthwhile. I love it. You're exactly right, Country Kong. I think this is right. They would totally give themselves away if they did that. And the word brazen is a really good word to describe Scott Foster. As I said earlier this week, the way he acts and the way he has an attitude and his ego, he really does act like a brazen criminal, like a high profile, like criminal, like a mafioso criminal that's really untouchable, that they have a certain arrogance and brazenness because they know they can get away with it. He really does feel like he's a made man. He can get away with whatever the fuck he wants on the court. That is his body language, the way he talks, his demeanor, his attitude. It really says that to me. And that, once again, those kind of personality profiles are found in syndicate leaders of organized crime, that they're above the law and they know it and they know they can get away with it because of the corruption. That's what I'm trying to say, that the personality profile and the behavior of him on the court really like has the same kind of pattern as a high profile criminal that's getting away with it and gets away with it all the time. It's a crazy thing. Seymour saying the refs are undefeated this season. Well, what's their record, Seymour? I don't know. Maybe they took a loss because of Fred the other night. They may have. Seriously, I don't know. I guess they never lose. I don't know. Maybe they do. Canadians, Cowboys saying, you got to go, Lex. And Raptor Freaks, have a blessed Friday night. Can't wait to watch the game later. Raptor family. All right, you go, Bradley. All the best. Ta-da for your house and home needs. If you need some help around the house, look up Ta-da on the phone book. They can help you out. 10:30 start tonight. So lots of time to get ready for this game tonight at 10:30. Seymour saying, Kendrick Perkins said to JJ, I'll see you with your Elvis Presley looking ass. Wow, the heat is on. All right, listen, I know I took Kendrick's side the other day, and you know what? I kind of took it on the surface level of him saying that there is white privilege and bias. But the more I'm learning about what that argument was specifically and some of the things saying, I want to retract my support for Kendrick Perkins on this subject. I didn't know exactly what was said. I never saw the clip. All I saw was that Kendrick said it's facts that there is a bias for white players in the MVP race. And I can see that being true just from a social science standpoint of white privilege and perception and things like that. But in some ways, I don't agree with how Kendrick went about his argument, and that there's a gray area that I didn't understand that JJ Redick was trying to argue from the other side. So I'm going to retract my support for Kendrick Perkins in this altercation, but I do still agree that there is some sort of white privilege in a way. But statistically, it shows, like you guys told me at that time, that that it is more often that black players are winning MVP. But this is a whole big argument with Embiid and Jokic for this year. Like, and some people are bringing this argument that like Embiid's defense is way, way better than Jokic's, and that in some ways this is a real cause that Oren Weisfeld is championing right now. That with the surge and uptick of offense in the NBA overall, defense is becoming a second thought and not celebrated as much in the league. And in some ways, defensive battling, like our team, is dying out. And that in some ways, we're like the canary in the coal mine about defense as a team, because we're not winning as much, even though we're a really sound defensive team, is because the NBA is cutting the nuts off of defenses in the league by making it so easy to score. And that in some ways, this is bad for the league, because the defensive side, the yin to the yang of offense, is important for the league for balance. And that this is a problem, and that I could see this being a problem in the future, that we're going to need defense to be a part of the game, and nobody values it anymore. Everybody looks at the stats and cares about how much people scored, and they don't care about steals and blocks and rebounds and things like that as much. And I think that's a bad direction for the league. There are old heads like me that really love the defensive aspect of the game, and that we don't like this product as much with it being so offensively favored. So this is something that the league's going to have to look at more and more. I really appreciate Oren Weisfeld as a journalist around the Raptors putting this on blast and talking about this. He's somebody I fully support to follow. If you're interested in somebody who writes about the Raptors from Raptors Republic, or just in general, somebody who's doing things around the Raptors in the media scrum, I fully endorse him and Samson Folk as people that make content that I really like and I think that is worthwhile. So, I think this is an important fight, the offense versus defense struggle in the NBA. And the defense is losing so horribly this year. And I don't know if it's necessarily good for the league. So we'll have to see. Fiercely saying, sincerely rooting for playoffs or at least play in. If we unfortunately don't make it, I have full confidence in the front office for offseason moves. We have so much talent on our team. Yeah, I don't think we'll fall all the way out. We're going to at least be in the play-in for sure. If we fall all the way out, then things really went bad, and maybe the refs did take it out on us. But I still have hope. There's a possibility that we can get the 6th seed, but it's really, really waning and going away the more losses we possibly collect going out. So it really does look like if we can get in the 7th or 8th seed, that is ideal and optimal at this point. 6 may be too far and maybe out of reach at this point. So we'll have to see. Greg saying 100% Nick complains about Floppy Joe's series last year, changed the whistle for games 3 and 6. Yeah, that's specifically when that happened. Good coaching. Fred VanVleet comments might be negative effects on court this year, but should affect change this offseason. Yeah, I think Greg's right. I think that if anything, he raised the alarm. And Joe Dumars and Adam Silver may really have to specifically look at these issues and really trying to show something, even if it's just window dressing, some sort of little move they make and to appease the fans and all this. Like, see, we are doing something. But I'll bet you they'll do at least that. They always seem to be reactive to what the fans and people think. So they make adjustments, and they really are a work in progress with the league. So they have no problems with changing things and being progressive and changing things. They're not like, this is just how it's always been and we're not changing. No, they're changing the league all the time. So that we could very well see this, and that may be right. I'm still not buying that we're going to have a negative effect from what Fred did, but we'll be watching tsee. We'll see. I don't know, Mark Davis. I'm your Huckleberry. I'm your Huckleberry. David is saying sometimes you have to completely tear something down before you can fix whatever the issue is, in reference to the league and the refs. I'm glad you distinguished what you were referring to and not our team. Yeah, I don't know how much you tear down, though. I think that it really is kind of a cohort and generational thing. Like maybe there's some refs that are around that have been around for like 20 plus years that need to be sussed through. I think it's the older refs that are more of a problem than the younger refs. I think that because there's more and more scrutiny on the referees, that to even get into the profession at this point, you may have been able to get in through nepotism and who you know and friends. But at this point, you really, really have to perform at a high level, go through the G League, go through all kinds of other levels to actually get to the NBA level. And it is the creme de la creme of the younger refs that are getting in that are really, really good and upstanding and are good. I really have more faith in young refs, way more than the older refs. I feel like the older refs have been around, they know the gig and they know the drill on how to do things. And the old NBA may have had these feuds between players and refs like Tim Donaghy and Rasheed Wallace, but there's no place for that in today's NBA. The personal vendettas and stuff like that is not good. The vendettas need to be between players like Draymond and Dylan. They don't need to be between Ben Taylor and Fred VanVleet. And that may be some of the changes, is that maybe they need to go retrain some of the older refs to get out of this fucking feud building shit, like Scott Foster and Chris Paul. That these guys are the problem. And maybe none of these younger refs are being dissuaded from don't build personal feuds with specific players. There could be all kinds of ways they're training the newer refs in better ways to be like a crisis situation, deal with it in a better way than like some of the older refs. It may be very much like police in real life. Like police forces have to train their cops different now than they did maybe 30 years ago. Maybe before they could get away with beating people and doing all this stuff, but they're on blast for this kind of shit. And now there has to be more like crisis management and more like, maybe a little bit more like social worker kind of just stuff done by cops and their work. And that's what I'm saying. Maybe the referees are like that too. The younger crowd of ref is more like a social worker, like work with the players and be more like that. And whereas not a brash, arrogant personality like an older ref like Scott Foster, who's above the law and maybe a crooked cop. And that's what I'm saying. You can like look at police and the referees in similar ways in that way. And that's why I have more faith in the younger refs and them coming up to not maybe possibly have personal vendettas, to be more impartial and to like really be smart and trained in the right way, not to allow those kind of things to develop with a specific player. So it's really interesting. We'll have to see. And I love that this is my forte, Brian Forte, that I'm really into the refs and understanding the refs. Some people don't like talking about the refs because they think that it's just an easy excuse for why a team loses. Well, you got to be aware that they do impact things and that they are a factor in things, obviously, from Monday night. Let's see. David's saying, yeah, okay, I read that one. Seymour saying, nobody knows these refs by name, only by face. They're trying to make a name for themselves, attention seekers. Well, that's what I'm saying. They shouldn't want people to know their names. I know all their names just because I've trained myself and studied, and I know them, and I tell y'all what TV shows they like, and we get to know their personalities. We get to know what kind of music they like, where they want to travel. We learn a lot about them. We humanize them, honestly, with the ref report here. And in some ways, we want to like them and say, oh, yeah, Derek Richardson loves to eat plankton and Tony Brothers loves croakers. And we know little fun facts about them. And, I like that about the ref report that I do on here. But it's also we want to know who they are to a degree so we know if they're stabbing us in the back. MSJ saying, I feel much better without Pansera. You will too. Don't get lost in the dark triad. There you go. I'm serious. When you take in information or content anywhere, and it doesn't have to be Raptors related, just pay attention to how it makes you feel. Fox News really does prey on making you feel fearful and sad and kind of scared. And in some ways, if you're getting those kind of feelings from any kind of news source, whether it's online, from TV, from radio, anywhere, then be suspicious of that. You want to really pay attention to how they're manipulating your emotions. And if they're trying to make you feel like real scared, then you probably don't need that in your life and you can cut it out. You can stay in the know and have information got to you in different news sources in a correct, healthy way without using the sensationalized avenues like a cable news channel. So that's what I'm saying. You just get your source of news from somewhere else, somewhere that doesn't make you have an imprint of emotion with the content. Greg is saying, want to give props to Mac McClung. The last 2 nights, he came out post-game for half an hour to sign autos autographs and takes selfies with Canadian kids. Spoke to him and thanked him for his classy move. Really great young man. I love hearing that, Greg. So McClung, the NBA slam dunk champion for the last 2 games at the 905 games, he's hung out after the game for half an hour, signing and taking pictures with all the kids at the games. That's fantastic stuff. You go, dunk champion, professional dunk artist, McClung. You may be a professional dunker, but I don't know if you'll ever be an NBA player. I mean, you're technically on the Sixers at this point, but you're still playing the 905 G League games. But yeah, I don't know. I think that, like a lot of people said, this guy's not going to make the league, but he was really good for the All-Star weekend. In fact, he may have been the biggest, brightest spot in the whole entire All-Star weekend this year. That he was the best part of it. So yeah, I love hearing this, Greg, that he did hang out and do that. But he's that kind of guy. You can tell he's very salt of the earth, and like they said, he doubled his earnings overall professionally with winning the dunk competition. He had only made $100,000, and he just made $100,000 in one shot for winning that. So it's kind of funny. He raised his GDP, his income by double just by winning the dunk competition. It's pretty interesting to hear. Fiercely saying, by the way, we were smacking the shit out of Denver on Monday, and the Bulls continued the job on Wednesday. So the West first place team was owned this week. Let that sink in. Did they actually lose to the Bulls in that game? I did see that the Bulls were handling them really well after that. They're on a downswing, and they were totally right to lose to us on Monday. It really is a travesty how Scott Foster stole that game from us and gave it to them. It really is a big travesty. And I'm more upset about that game still than Ben Taylor and the things with Fred. But I'm so glad that the things happened and Fred said that stuff. But the stuff that happened on Monday was way more worse in some ways. The Raptors had a chance to beat the Clippers at some point still, but they never got a chance to beat the Nuggets because right at the end, finishing move by Scott Foster, ejection. Leslie saying this ref story has lasted all week. So I hope that the NBA is paying attention to this. Fred said everything that many small market teams and players experience. Yeah. So many people are identifying with him, whether it's other fan nations, whether it's players like Marcus Smart. Yeah, they're like, thank you, Fred. Thank you for the breath of fresh air. And maybe this year has been really bad with the refs overall, all around, and that everybody's kind of feeling the same thing Fred expressed, that this year has been different, that the referees have been a little too sensitive, and they're calling it really weird this year, that they have discretion, they have jurisdiction, as Fred put it. That was the word he said. I understand they have jurisdiction. But it's like, jurisdiction means they get to be the jury, the judge, jury, and executioner of their decisions on the court. And, that's, in some ways, that's power corrupts. That's absolute power because nobody can question them. And even when you do a challenge and they say, no, you were wrong, challenge unsuccessful. In fact, Nick Nurse recently came out saying that he hates the challenges. He hates the challenges. He thinks they're a waste of time. He thinks that they're stupid. And the reason why is this. He's like, I can call a challenge on every single play and point out where y'all got it wrong. And you can go watch on camera every single time. What it makes it different from this play from every single other fucking play where you missed the call. And that in some ways, when you go and look at it and you finally look, oh, there is a foul here and you pick up on it. Well, you could do that on every single fucking play. If you did a coach's challenge on every single play, you probably find that you guys were wrong or find some sort of little bit of contact and all this kind of stuff. It's superfluous in some ways. And that's what Nick's saying. It's a waste of time. It's so dumb. And he doesn't like it. He kind of wants the coach's challenge to go away. He thinks that it takes away from the rhythm of the game. And also, what's the point? What is really the point? It doesn't serve anything. And he thinks that the only reason why the NBA did it is because other sports leagues started doing instant challenges like this, and that the NBA just wanted to get in on it. That is officially what Nick Nurse thinks about the challenge calls. He thinks they're dumb and they need to go away. And some people are saying they're going to increase them, that they're going to add an extra challenge. If you win the challenge, you get to keep it and get more challenges later. So it's heading in the other direction, it seems like. Rather than, I still think our idea to have the command center in Secaucus, where the referees are watching the main plays, they should be the one determining the rulings on the challenges and not the refs on site. That you take it out of their hands and it's impartial, and then you get the ruling from up top. I think that would be much better for integrity and visibility of like, okay, this is fair. Instead of the referee ruling, okay, I was wrong. I admit it. I'm a bigger person. I'll say that. Well, some of the referees are older, may not have it in their characteristic to admit when they're wrong and be the bigger person. Some of them seem like that, Tony Brothers. And I wonder that like that's why it's so stupid when you challenge a coach and they go and look at it and they say, "Yeah, I was right, bitch. How the audacity of you to challenge me and you're unsuccessful." That's what I'm saying. Take it out of Tony Brothers' hands if he's getting challenged and go send it to Kane Fitzgerald and Secaucus and let him rule it on it from remote place and tell them this is what we see on the cameras here in New Jersey and this is what you're ruling. And it's out of your hands, Tony Brothers. You don't get to decide this. That's what I'm saying. That would be a really smart idea. I think that was a brilliant idea, whoever came up with it or talked about it in here first. I think we should push this idea to the NBA. I think it would really help things. Let's see. Tom is retracted. Seymour is saying, even Giannis holding his tongue about the refs. He said he needs the 20K for Pampers. Giannis is he's such a childlike guy. He's so goofy and immature in some ways that I love him so much. Like he really does have a childlike attitude about the world. And I hope he never loses that he never becomes so jaded that he can't just be a fun person, because he definitely is a fun person. Greg saying, a fellow fan at 905 last night said to me, they need refs to be handled like players using G League. Bad performance, go to G League and correct it. Someone else gets called up. What do you think? Ref report, A+. Thank you, Greg. Yeah, relegation. And in some ways, that's a great idea. I mean, I can get it, but I'd be really fucking weird to see Tony Brothers at Raptors 905 all of a sudden calling a game there. It'd be really weird because in some ways, these guys really are in a tier and stuff, but there are a lot of refs. That's part of what maybe humbles these refs, just like players, is like a young ref like Matt Callio, the Canadian ref. He's playing in both leagues. He refs in G League games still, and he refs in the big leagues. And in some ways that can humble you and make you have a more well-rounded officiating like basis of how you officiate. So I think that there's nothing wrong with this in some ways. Relegation basically is what you're saying. Is like, all right, Ben Taylor, you had a kind of a bad year this year with your calls, very biased against that great point guard for the Raptors. Oh, Fred VanVleet, what a great guy. We love him. So you know what? I'm sorry, Ben. This season, you're going to have to ref in the G League this season, and you'll have to show that you're credible and good ref at that level again before we bring you back up to the main league. You know, that sounds great to me, Greg, relegation for the refs. But would they allow it? And then once again, the biggest obstacle for something like that is the NBA officials union. That's a powerful entity in this league as far as the officials union does influence and tell people, yeah, you can't do this, Adam Silver. No, you can't. Our officials, we won't stand for it. So we'll have to see. I like the idea, but I don't think it's very realistic to happen. But, and that's what I'm saying, the difference between the young refs and the older refs may be that the younger refs are more well-rounded and easygoing because they have had to play ref in the G League. Before they could get up there, they had to go through the G League. And some of these guys who never had to do that, maybe they're too arrogant, maybe they're too much this old guard of having vendettas with players. They need to go. They need to be put to the pasture. And that may be correcting and helping the referee situation in the NBA over time more and more. The bad old refs go away, and there's new refs that are trained properly, that are more well-grounded and more unbiased, and just better refs. I think that that'll help in the long run. I really do. One person said recently, I don't know who said it, is that like high school is the referee's game, college is the coach's game, and the NBA is the player's game. And I think that illustrates kind of what makes sense. The referees are the stars and in charge on the high school level. They're the ones you got to learn from and listen to and instill respect for the authority of the game at that level with the young players. In college, it is very much about the coaches, and it's a coach's game. And then obviously the NBA is the player's game. And then I like that delineation. It's like high school is the official's game, college is the coach's game, and the NBA is the player's game. And I think that's very true. Infamous saying, in the Kendrick JJ argument, I thought they both had valid points. I just thought Kendrick didn't argue his point correctly. Yeah, I think he got too emotional, and maybe he got a little bit too much with the personal attacks if he's calling JJ Redick Elvis. So yeah, that may have hurt it. He needed to be more like Fred and be measured and use profanity correctly and be very calm and say it in a very matter-of-fact way. He's a much more effective communicator Fred VanVleet in his press conference after the game on Wednesday. Yeah, I think they both had good points. I think you're right. I honestly, I haven't watched the clip still, so I don't even know if I should be making any comments on it because I'm not learned or educated on it. So we'll see. Seymour saying that might work. You like my idea? It's like that might work. Monique saying, "Hey Lex, I know Jonesy came up with the phrase 'minutes police,' but who really came up with it? Do you know?" I don't know. It's something that has very much became something in vogue with the Raptors nation this year, the minutes police, and watching how many minutes, and really was spawned from Nick Nurse overplaying the starters. So I know in the Raptors Tonight chat that the guy who really, and I wish he'd come here and join us because he'd be a great addition to our chat, is Iceman Gervin. That guy is always in the Raptors Tonight chat, and he's the minutes police. He's the one who kind of comes in and talks about it in the chat after the game and checks the minutes. And even puts the little icons of the cop and the lights and says, minutes police, minutes police. Pascal's played 40 minutes tonight. That's no good. And he calls him out on it. I like that Iceman like Gervin guy, that handle. He's funny. He's one of my favorite people that doesn't come in this channel that I see in Raptor Spaces all the time. So I wish he'd come and join us and hang out with us a bit, because he's funny. He, to me, is the minutes police, him specifically, because he's the one who's always coming in there and saying it while they're talking about it on Raptors Tonight. I don't know where it came up from. Like, everybody can try and say, oh, I came up with this. I like to say I'm the one who came up with the name Trey Boucher for Chris Boucher, because in some ways I did. I and some names I do try and come up with and kind of put out there, but who cares? There's no real way of finding out who could give credit to like a term like minutes police. I'm sure it was used in other fan nations in other ways or in other sports also, but it's just very apropos right now in Raptors Nation because of Nick Nurse's proclivity to overplay his starters, that we need a minutes police. Let's see, Greg saying, laugh out loud, Giannis Pampers, good point about getting rid of the challenge. All they do is suggest that refs get it wrong. So what, play on and adjust. It wastes time. It makes the game go longer. They're not, it does make the refs look bad in a way because, okay, I did get it wrong. You were right. There's so many different problems with it in some ways. Like it's a way, sometimes I think it's good. And it's like, okay, that actually was justice done and the call was overturned. We got the ball. Sometimes I'm just like, what the fuck? The ref is like wrong, obviously. And he's looking at the same thing we're all looking at, but he's still standing by what he saw in his call. And I'm like, yeah, in some ways, the refs get to that Cartman, respect my authority, kind of like end all be all absolute power thing. That's where I get in a problem too. So I want like a checks and balances system. And that's why I feel like they can utilize this great system of having New Jersey connected to all the games as being part of the checks and balances. That Kane Fitzgerald is in charge of the replay center. That replay center needs to be have more authority to help rule on site away from the game. I really do believe that will help. Let's see. Seymour saying Dillon Brooks versus Draymond had me dying, all in his grill. Somebody posted on Twitter this morning. I love this tweet. A man from Mississauga is terrorizing the NBA. And I thought that was hilarious. In some ways, that's so Canadian fun. Like Mississauga man is terrorizing the NBA right now. You go, Dillon Brooks. You are a villain. You are very much are a villain. Chris Boucher has talked about him being a heel and how he loves him for it. In some ways, Chris Boucher loves being the villain himself. And these old Oregon Ducks are all about being villains in the NBA. Well, Dillon is definitely the villain of the NBA. And I'm more with him than Draymond. Draymond's trying to poo-poo the accomplishments of the Memphis Grizzlies and say, well, you guys haven't won 4 championships. You can't talk. It's not a rivalry if y'all have never won and we've won so much. Fuck you. This is definitely a rivalry, Draymond Green. Don't you disrespect the Memphis Grizzlies who beat your ass a few times this season. They blew you guys out in March. He said, oh, March? I don't even get up for games in March. I just barely wake up and get out of bed to come to the game. Well, that makes you look bad, Draymond. Oh, dog, you know what? This has been a rivalry for a couple of years now. So much John and talking back and forth between John Morant and Dillon Brooks and Steph Curry and Draymond Green. The Warriors and the Grizzlies have a rivalry, whether you think you do or not, Draymond, you idiot. So I'm fully with the Grizzlies in this fight. Fuck the Warriors. Fuck you, Draymond. You go, Dillon Brooks. Yeah, 905 is in the house. That's right, baby. Seymour Pape is bringing up Phoenix fires court cleaner after KD warm-up injury. It's crazy. Kevin was supposed to play his first game in front of the Phoenix crowd on their home court. And in the warm-ups, I saw it, and he really did twist his ankle bad. Like the picture of it is sideways, perpendicular with his leg, his foot, and it is crunch. And man, it is sad to hear that he's going to be out for the rest of the season and he's going to probably miss the playoffs. Well, there you go, Phoenix. There you go. And you know, the byproduct of what's happened with Kevin Durant is really funny. All these people that were all about, well, you wouldn't trade Scotty Barnes for Kevin Durant last summer. You're stupid, Raptor fans. Why wouldn't you do that? Well, actually, we weren't stupid because one of our biggest concerns with Kevin was exactly what's happened with him and the Phoenix Suns right now. That now he's not even able to play for the rest of the season. So, yeah, we dodged a bullet. We sound real smart not trading Scotty Barnes for Kevin Durant last summer. All y'all people think we were stupid for saying, why wouldn't you take Kevin Durant for Scotty? You're idiots. Well, this is why. This is exactly why. Realistic reasons. Injuries. There you go. Bam, 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 bam. Yeah, dodge that bullet, Raptor fans. Yeah. Shir Khan saying, question for everyone. What do we think about allowing betting in the WWE for scripted matches? Oh my gosh, how is it even going to work? Vince also willing to sell the business for $9 billion. Crazy developments. All right, Shir Khan, we'll do a little taster of Vince world and the WWE and the weirdness that I heard this week also. When I heard that, I was like, this has got to be a parody article. This can't be a real article. They seriously want to allow betting on WWE? Do they not understand something about WWE? Do they not understand that it is scripted, is very much picked and planned out right away? This is not a real sporting event where this is a real competition. They have actually already decided who's going to win before they come out. In fact, they may decide weeks or months in advance of results. Like WrestleMania is coming up. Well, they know who Roman Reigns is going to fight already, and they probably already know who's going to win that match, but way in advance. And it's like, oh, they're going to have to keep the secrets, just like Survivor. It's like, are we gambling on Survivor like this? Because like Survivor gets filmed 6 months before. All it takes is a production crew to go, oh, yeah, I know who wins the Survivor this season. Put $1 million on Gabler. He's going to win Survivor this year. And then like, boom, somebody makes money. This is too fishy, too crazy to happen or be possible. And anybody who's gambling on the WWE, you're a fucking idiot. Why would you gamble on scripted sports entertainment that isn't even a real competition? That is crazy, Shir Khan. When I saw that article this week, I was like, this is a joke, right? Is this The Onion? Is this like one of those weird like sports, they act like they're a real sports company, but they're actually like a parody site, writing bullshit like, crazy shit. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. There's no way it can work. And it's ridiculous to even suggest. If Vince McMahon thinks it's going to work, he's crazy. He's just money grubbing, and he wants to figure out some way to get even more money somehow, some way. And he doesn't care if it works or not. He's just saying, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I'd love to make more money. And that's also you bringing him up. He wants to sell the WWE for $9 billion. And in some ways, some people are saying he's overpriced it on purpose just to see if anybody will come and buy it. But he doesn't really actually intend to sell the WWE because that price is way overpriced. Some people have said that it may be worth $5 billion or maybe even $6 billion at the most, but that Vince has overpriced his company on purpose so that it won't actually sell after all, and that he'll actually get it valued up higher by valuing it that high. That he's not actually trying to sell the company in actuality because he made such a ridiculous price. So there you go, Shir Khan. I don't know if that's what you were wanting to talk about with all that. And that's my knowledge and intel on those two things right there. True Crime Investigates AASB. I love this. What a great fucking name. Let's see what he's saying. Welcome. We talk Raptors every morning, 9:30 for a few hours. And I hope you'll come and join us every day. True Crime. What's up, y'all? We, the North, give both coaches a yellow card. If the ref has a yellow issued by both coaches in a match, the ref goes for a review with the board and the NBAPA. Ooh, okay. So you put this on the coaches. And listen, this is kind of an interesting way to do it, but I can see maybe a flaw in it. But I really like this outside the box thinking by True Crime here. So basically, Nick Nurse has a card, and Darvin Ham has a card. And if Mark Davis is refereeing tonight in a really crazy, fucked up way. And they both agree that they refereed badly. They turn in their cards, and then the ref goes up for review because both the coaches agreed that there was some funny shit. That's an interesting idea. But what if one of the refs is actually really helping one of the teams and like, no, we're not going to give him the yellow card because we like what he did. He helped us win, Scott Foster. Yeah, I'm not going to give him that yellow card, Michael Malone. He's like, no, I'm not going to give him. He helped us win. See, that's what I'm saying. How would that work though? Like if Darvin Ham's like, yeah, I love the calls tonight. They were all completely unfair against us. That's what I'm saying. Maybe there's something to that may work. I kind of like the idea, but that's interesting. That's a very interesting idea. Definitely. I like the outside the box thinking. And like, that's what we do on this channel. We like to problem solve and kind of come up with new creative ideas. Yeah. Seymour saying 9 billion. Damn. Yeah, that's a little high, but that's on purpose. It's kind of like you have a really nice house and somebody comes to your house and he's like, well, I love your house. I'd love to buy it. Well, if you want to buy my house, $10 million, because I love this house. But if you want it from me, $10 million, I'm like, this house is only worth like $1 million at most. I'm sorry. If you want it, that's how much you're going to have to pay. That's really kind of the attitude he's having right now with the WWE. He's like, yeah, you like my house? $9 billion, but it's only worth 4 or 5 billion. Well, you want it? 9 billion. I really like it living here. And then you got to make it worth my while. That I feel like that's the way that Vince is going about this. Monique saying, awesome stream, Lex, per usual. Let's keep climbing. Go Raptors always. Remember to stay positive, togetherness at all times. You go, Monique. Yes. Let's keep the family together, Raptor Freak family. Listen, things are great. Things are awesome. We're fun. We're outlaws. We're badasses. We're like Fred VanVleet. We are like that. And let's keep on going like that. We just be badasses and kick some Laker ass tonight. Let me do a couple things and wrap it up, and we'll get done before 3 hours. Here's the Real Mascot Matchup. Yeah, here we go. All right, the last time we saw the Raptor, he's with two companions, a big, huge yak and Will the Wizard, who just recently met on the road. And they're trying to heal the Raptors' wounds in various weird ways, like smearing shit all over his chest from the yak or licking his face with the saliva or even like healing work, energy work. None of it's really helped that much, honestly. So now a police officer, Officer Foster, came along and told them to get the yak off the road because its toenails are ripping up the asphalt and ripping up the road. So now they're on the side of the road trying to clip the toenails of the yak with a toenail clipper. Yeah. So they're clipping them, and they're getting all the clips off and stuff like that. And, the yak smells like they're really finding out, like, while they're clipping the yak, they're like, damn, this motherfucker smells like, why? Ugh, you smell bad. But they noticed that nearby there's a lake. So there's a lake nearby. So they're like, maybe we should take the yak and bathe them too. We might as well go ahead and like clip them up and get them washed too. So they're going to go take the newly clipped yak to the water and wash them off a little bit and make them all nice and fresh. So they're going to the lake to put the yak in the lake now. Well, they didn't notice there's a lifeguard on duty, and his name is Ben Taylor. That's right. Ben Taylor's there, sitting there, and they're like, wait, what are you doing with that yak? Yak in the water. Yo, you can't have that yak in the water. It's like he's going to make the water gross. I'm like, listen, we just want to wash our yak. Can you just let us wash our yak, Ben Taylor? Please. What do you have against us? We're just trying to live our lives. And it's like, this is a swimming area. We can't have the E. coli coming from your yak into the water. And like, so they get in an argument. And it's really getting heated between the Raptor and Ben Taylor, the lifeguard. And well, we'll have to find out next time. Are they going to be able to wash that yak in the lake? Or is there an asshole named Ben Taylor sitting on the lifeguard chair and he won't let them? You'll find out next time, the Real Mascot Matchup. Yeah, there you go. It's weird. I know. It's very weird. Infamous is saying there was a strange Raptors challenge that Nick Nurse was correct in the challenge, but the refs changed the foul to another player to make sure they were correct. Does anyone remember that game? Yeah. Yeah, this is an interesting phenomena that's happening with the challenge calls is sometimes they'll like, okay, yeah, you're right. Your challenge is successful. However, is what the verbiage they'll use. It was like, the challenge is successful by Coach Nurse. However, we detected a foul on a different player in the same play, and it has been adjusted. The foul is now on the other person, and they're still shooting free throws, Or there was a game recently where one team challenged a call. They were the other team we were playing against, and they pissed them off, and they made the challenge even worse against them. They say, "Oh, you're challenging us? Well, actually, then it's going to be this and this, and you get it even worse. It's a flagrant foul." And they're going to get free throws and the ball. It was just a foul before you challenged it. Well, now we looked at it and it's even worse. This was Cleveland, that Cleveland game on Sunday with JB Bickerstaff. He called the challenge. They went to go look at it, and they're like, "No, this is even worse than you thought." And now it's a flagrant. We upgraded it. It's a really weird thing. Like, the challenge can be very risky. It can actually hurt you if you call the challenge at this point. We've learned that. And it's also like sometimes they're looking and they're finding other things. And that was part of what Nick Nurse's argument about the challenge call is. It's like, y'all can go look at it and you're going to find all kinds of crazy shit that you're not finding in real time as the game goes. And sure, you can nitpick and all that. But in some ways, does that shit matter if you're not picking up on it in the pace and speed of the game? Because listen, y'all can be nitpicky as fuck and catch every single thousand of contact and this on every single play throughout a whole entire NBA game. And you will never, ever get it exactly right. So this is just the one play. We're going to go and look at it really, really closely and get real nitpicky on this and this and this. That's why he has a problem with it. It's so stupid because it makes one certain play so more paramount and specific when this kind of shit happens on almost every single play. And they're not going back and scrutinizing and pointing out and figuring out the fouls the correct way from those. So I really think Nick Nurse's argument against the coach's challenge is very interesting, especially since I'm trying to figure out how to game the coach's challenge to use it in the most effective way to help the Raptors. That is kind of a side project I've been doing this whole year, is thinking about the challenge and what scenarios and what reasons are best to call the challenge for to get the best results and the outcome for good things to happen. So I'm looking at a lot of that kind of stuff. And I do totally remember that game, infamous. And that's the funny thing. There's a lot of like challenge successful, however, or the challenge is unsuccessful and you actually have upgraded it to a flagrant. So yeah, challenge at your own risk. Sheer Constant at Click. Yeah, I don't like Sid now. Used to be decent, but just BS takes now. Really like the new co-host, Noor, who came over from Homestand Channel. No controversial takes, just to the point, opinion and analysis. I just wish people would, know their role and what they do with what they cover the Raptors. There's different levels to this. There's people like me that are, not professional. I'm just a major super fan that runs a passionate YouTube channel. Well, I don't have to follow the same kind of guidelines as somebody like Doug Smith or Eric Kareem. And that's why I have a real problem with them being sarcastic and snarky on YouTube, on Twitter, is because, listen, y'all are reputable news sources that need to be telling facts and telling us the truth. And if you're trying to be comedians half the time also, we don't know what to suss out, whether you're being funny or not. In fact, there was a whole thing after the Scotty Barnes tweet the other day after Scott Foster. He said, "I'm in disbelief." And Doug Smith replied to him saying, "We're all over it." And like, you can interpret that in a couple different ways because Doug Smith's been so snarky and sarcastic that, okay, are you telling Scotty to get over it, or that like we're over you being like how you are? And no, what he meant was he's all over like the issue and he wanted to cover it as a journalist and come after it and cover it and look into it for Scotty. But the way he wrote it, it really was a disconnect between generations and what it meant. And all these young people thought that Doug Smith was telling him that he was over him being like extra and special on the court and getting that ejection and all that kind of stuff. And it's funny, they attacked Doug Smith and he had to explain, no, I mean, I'm going to try and cover it and talk about it and put it on blast. It's so funny. That's the problem, Doug. If you don't have reputable credibility and you're always making like half your tweets are jokes and they're not like factual, well, you're going to fucking gray up whether we should trust you or not as an information source. Like Shams and Woj, they can't make sarcastic tweets and jokey tweets because people read them for information and getting what's happening. And y'all are the same way. Like, y'all are paid by the Toronto Star and other newspapers and TV stations to tell the facts. And that's why I have a big problem with media personalities, people like that, trying to be jokey. because they can get misinterpreted. You saw that pile of shit that Doug Smith stepped into with Armani Brooks last season, joking around about his contract situation. Well, that's not funny. You're supposed to be serious and tell the truth. And that's why no more jokes, Eric Koreen, Doug Smith, and other people like that. You really should be fair and unbiased and just factual, because y'all are the journalists. And sure, you may want to be jokey and it may be fun to be jokey, but it's not serving you at this point. Your jokes aren't funny, first of all. You're not as funny as you think you are. And we just want information from you, really. All right. Save the jokes to idiots like me and other places that are supposed to be not totally like exactly like y'all. Is what I'm saying. Yeah, Sid Seixeiro, he's horrible. He always has been. I wrote him off like in the early 2000s. I wrote him off way long time ago. Let's see. True Crime saying awesome story. Is it? It's still me, Rafi or Abandoned. Oh, okay. You're just switching names. Loyalty Rabs got your back. We the North. Awesome. All right. I kind of like this one. True Crime Investigates. I like that. You should be like True Crime Investigates Scott Foster. I like that handle. That would be a good one. Greg saying fire today, Lex. Do Suns fans players get to whine to everyone this year? We would have won if KD wasn't injured. Like 2019 Warriors. Get a bench and back up plan, you babies. They're actually a good, solid team even without Kevin. They do have some good weapons still. I mean, Ayton and Chris Paul, and they've got guys they're reloaded with, like Terrence Ross, and some new players there that are very interesting. I don't think they're going to get very far without Kevin, and I don't think they would have either anyway. They're very like the Mavericks, and they're not good defensive teams, and they don't have legs to get far in the playoffs. The West is going to be weird because there's a lot of good offensive juggernauts, but in some ways, how will the playoffs reconcile this real imbalance for offensive play in the NBA when the defensive play is so paramount and important in the playoffs? The physicality and all that becomes more important. And in some ways, these teams that have been tearing it up in the regular season and being so good offensively, they may really struggle in the playoffs. This is what Brian Windhorst was trying to say the other day about the Nuggets. That, as good as Jokic is, he's a defensive liability. We showed that on Monday night. And that in some ways, he is part of the reason why they'll never win, because he's a defensive liability. It's a similar thing to Embiid. In some ways, he's very good player, but he's a liability in other ways too. And that's what I'm saying. These teams that are really good offensively, Luka and Kyrie, they're not going to get very far because they have no defense. They can't stop the other team when they want to. And it may be that other team has a little bit better defense themselves. So that's what I'm going to be looking at, especially in the Western Conference. The Eastern teams play a little bit more defense in general, like Boston and Milwaukee and us. But the Western teams, their defense is not that good out there, and it may really show in the outcomes with the Western Conference. It'll be interesting. Of course, they're going to pick apart and whine anything. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Kevin couldn't play. I'm sure they're so upset and miserable. What a roller coaster from Suns fans this season. All of the toxicity in the beginning with the owner and things, and then they get Kevin Durant in the middle of the season. Yay, everything's good. And then now he's hurt. Oh, it's like Kevin Durant, wherever he is, he puts his team on a roller coaster. You can ask Nets fans in the last couple of years. Monique is saying, hey, Lex, you're definitely right about the minutes police guy. He's always in Raptors Tonight live stream. So smart. Let's try and get him in here. I know what you mean. I like Iceman like Gervin. He's a badass. I love his handle, and he's old school. I read his comments, and he's like on point. And he's a good, positive fan. He's realistic, but I really do like his comments. So if you see him in there, invite him to the stream, please, Monique. G saying, I've been in and out today. Hands are full. Let's kick the Lakers down to the lake tonight. I'm all about that, G, for sure. And Dan saying, I heard the Grizzlies are going to take the whole thing. Some guy named Dylan told me that. Honestly, if the Grizzlies won the championship, I'd be happy, but I don't think that's going to happen either. Ja Morant's going to be out for a while in the stretch run with his suspensions, and Steven Adams has been shut down for the rest of the year, so that just basically kills their chances. They absolutely need their big man to be a good, best version of themselves, and Steven Adams being shut down for the rest of the season doesn't bode well for them. I really don't know who to pick out of the West. I don't believe in the Nuggets. The Warriors, of course, they've got the pedigree, and they did it last year, so they are pretty dangerous, and they could be favorites. But their standing is not that good, and they may not have very good home court advantage depending on where they finish. And you start looking at Memphis was really strong, but now they're kind of falling apart. The Clippers have problems. Dallas has problems. Phoenix has problems. I don't see any clear cut really favorite in the West. They all have flaws and issues. And this is going to be very interesting playoffs on that side of things. Seriously, it's going to be very interesting. All right. I'm going to just do the recap real quick in the 7 minutes and get out of here. Real quick, guys. Once again, the Lakers have some injuries tonight, and we're going to have to find out how this all goes down. Right now, D'Angelo Russell is probable for tonight. They are saying he's out officially, but they're saying he may show up. Either way, I don't care. If he's there, he's going to be rusty, trying to get his rhythm back, and he's probably going to suck. If he isn't there, so be it. Anthony Davis may not show up tonight also. His foot is bothering him. He's probable for tonight. So that's what I'm saying. He may be their best player, and he may not even show up tonight. Mo Bamba is definitely not playing, and LeBron is definitely not playing. So it really does leave a team that's kind of been thrown together with guys from like Utah as the only two starters available, Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt. And then you got guys like Schroeder and, who else is on their bench? Lonnie Walker, people like that. So it's a Rui Hashimura. It's going to be a really thrown together, different kind of Laker team than we've seen the last couple of times we played them because they have a lot of change in their personnel. So it's going to be fun. No Russell, of course. So we'll have to see how it goes. And on our side, Will Barton is probable, and hopefully will play tonight, that he feels better from his illness that kept him out of the last game. So that's really good. I like that. Continuing things, too bad that the Raptors 905 lost to the Blue Coats last night. It's too bad. They've fallen now to a lower part in the playoffs, but they're still in the playoffs technically. But they do need to win more and more. They're only 13-12. That's very close to 500. They need to improve on that. But you go Raptors 905. I think your next game is tomorrow. I'm not totally sure. And then once again, our referees for tonight, our crew chief is Marc Davis. He has a history with the Raptors, and we know that people really watch him closely. So Marc Davis, don't you try and get no retribution against Fred VanVleet tonight. We're watching you. The other referees are Brian Forte and Ray Acosta. The refs favor us. The two lower refs do, but Marc Davis does favor the Lakers technically. So there you go. There's your ref report and summary real quick. Marc Davis, Brian Forte, and Ray Acosta. That's the refs we got tonight. All right, y'all. Have a great Friday. Do whatever you do right. Do it the Raptor way today. Raptorize your day, and let's make the energy right for the Raptors to come out and get on the good foot, get a good lead, hold the lead for most of the game, and just get that big W tonight. We need to salvage a win against the Lakers tonight at all costs. You guys play at the high level that you've played the last couple games. I have a good feeling you will win tonight, that we have a better talented team, and it's deeper. And we need to show that tonight. Don't play with your food. Don't mess around. Listen, we have a lot to prove still. We need to get these wins no matter what. And like you said, Fred, yesterday, we have to play perfect. We have to play perfect. And that may mean like playing absolutely perfect because we got to overcome the other team and the referees. So do it and do it right. I believe in you guys. And I know a lot of people here do also. Go Raps, Jimmy Pope of Positivity. You go. Race Mode Daily. Have fun down in South Florida, down there, and get yourself a Cubano. And Dan, go Raps. I love to see it. Y'all have a great day. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I'll be back tomorrow. We'll do the reaction to the game tonight, tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning. Have a great Friday, guys. And have a great day. And hey, yeah, it's going to be a late night. Be ready to stay up past midnight to almost 10:30 start in crypto.com arena. All right, y'all. Have a great day. Let's go Raptors! Yeah!